And we are live. Welcome to the Political Orphans. My name is Nico and I am your in-house conservative. To my left, Rob Ambrose, our token liberal. Our goal is simple. We want to show you that it's possible for a lefty and a righty to not only get along, but to be able to have a civil conversation when we disagree. Because never forget, common sense has no political affiliations. What is going on?
What's going on, brother? How was your weekend?
Busy as
Same
always.
old. Yeah, fuck. We take the weekend off and the world goes to shit. Lots of stuff going on.
I don't take weekends off, bro. Ever. I don't remember last time I haven't had a vacation in 4 or 5 years, maybe more.
Jesus, yeah.
And by vacation I mean like taking a weekend off. It was my wife. It was the shower this weekend.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the baby shower.
I had to make an appearance. I had to show up and just thank everybody I don't know. And my wife is Italian, so they had at least 26 middle-aged to grandmother-age women all together, and I needed to go say hi to everybody.
Oh yeah, that's the worst.
Not good times.
Yeah,
I don't know any guy that's like, oh, that's gonna be so fun. Yeah, no.
Yeah,
I just wanted to get the fuck out of there.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, no, I hate that shit too. But it's one of those things you got to do. You gotta, you got to do. You got to pay the dues. You got to do the shaking babies and
kissing hands.
Kissing hands, yeah.
Great women though, like great women. I was happy. I was happy they were all there. It was cool for my wife, but definitely not something that is meant for guys. And I don't understand why guys are trying to get involved in this stuff. They do the mix now. Like, men are gonna, there's things that you don't want women. You want boys. You want the boys to be left alone.
You don't want women at the bachelorette party either, right?
At the bachelor party.
Yes, yeah, that's what I mean.
Because I'm pretty sure there are women at the bachelorette party. Yeah, I'm pretty sure at least.
Well, I mean,
it completely changes the dynamic.
You could have women at the bachelor party, but they should be hired.
And most of the time they are.
Yes,
I think. Yeah, it's not the type of party I've ever had, so I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Wise guy, how's it going, brother? How was your weekend?
But yeah, it's just we have a bunch of gifts. We have money.
Oh yeah, I mean that's a big thing. What'd you guys get that you needed? Like, do you have all your big stuff, cribs and all that kind of shit?
Oh yeah. That we had way prior to that. We're all done, all settled, like all set up too. I set that up last week. Everything's ready, man. Everything. The only thing I think she needs is a bug out bag, as in when shit happens,
shit hits the fan.
You want something in the car, because, bro, we're at that time right now that it could be pretty much
any day.
Time, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So, that's right. Even stuff like just getting a bunch of diapers, honestly, is pretty sweet, because that shit's expensive, man. You go.
Yeah, well, we have plenty. We're pretty set for a lot of things. I don't think we're missing anything at all. So I think we're good, man. I think
is
we're
the whole
really good.
The whole family's pretty excited.
Well, her family abso-fucking-lutely.
Yeah.
For me, man, my mother showed up. Like I don't have a good relationship with my mother, right? And
yeah. No, that's
as a Christian, my wife and I have been having the conversation, and I'm like, it's easier for me if she's not involved, because I don't have to worry about it. But it's not right. So we extended the olive branch, and she actually made the trip. She showed up. So,
well, I mean, obviously, you've talked about this a few times before, and with this kind of stuff, there's always, all kinds of background that you're never like only but just broadly speaking, without knowing exactly the history there, I think oftentimes when families get a bit dysfunctional or separation happens, sometimes like a major event like the birth of a child is often a catalyst to sort of mend those bridges or repair those fences. And maybe that's what's going to happen here. That'd be a good thing if so.
It's I've been praying for this. I've been because my sister ain't having fucking kids. So if my mother wants to be around grandchildren, it's
Mhm.
gonna have to be through my wife and I. So
Yeah, and I just, I find, lots of times families have shit, but I just find that the older you get, sometimes you get to a point where, like, it doesn't matter anymore. Whatever happened in the past. Obviously, there's some things that, like, they're bad enough that you can never forgive or forget. But if this isn't one of those, maybe it would be a good time to repair those fences, even if you think that they were in the wrong or think that you were in the right. Sometimes it pays to sort of reach out, just for the
it's
good of
just the
the
Christian
family. Yeah.
it was not, I'll be honest, man, it was not because I wanted to do it. I
Mhm.
really did not. My head was saying fuck no, my heart was saying fuck no. But because I'm a Christian, that's the right thing to do. You're supposed to respect your parents.
Yep.
So
I
I
mean, that's what.
I opened that door, but it's not because I wanted to, believe me. I really didn't want it.
Well,
I
how did it go?
super good.
Nice, nice.
Yeah. So I have nothing but good things to say. Just it's one of those surprises, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I was not expecting her to show up in the first place, and she, I don't want to say behaved, but I guess that's the term I want to use. So yeah,
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good. That's nice. Hopefully, it is a beginning of maybe repairing that relationship a little bit.
we shall see. Only time
Yeah.
will say, right?
Yeah, exactly, right. Bumpy, how's it going, brother? He's getting right into it. Dink Carney, the feckless and flaccid ghoul of Canada. And in regards to what we're talking about here, he says, I try to extend the olive branch, but the fat mofos keep snapping them. I mean, sometimes that happens. I feel like you're never in the wrong if you reach out. If the person, you know, as you say, snaps the olive branch, well, that's on them. And, they're the ones that
Yeah.
live with the consequences.
I'm really just doing the right thing, and whatever happens from here is 100% up to her. It ain't up to me.
Yep. Yep. No.
So we shall see. Question for
Yeah.
you guys before we get started. Question to you, do you think that what happened in both Egypt and the US over the weekend will wake up protesters, especially Western protesters, woke liberal protesters?
I kind of feel like this in and of itself won't, but I think it's the start of a trend of, I like that these are our lead stories because I think there's actually some connection between these events. The sort of the beginning of the end of left style activism, so to speak. You're seeing a lot of videos of, how they've really taken that strategy of blocking roads lately. You keep seeing different videos come up of, like, people who are just say fuck it and running them over, and you love to see it. I think at some point it's becoming a big enough thing that they're gonna probably have to change laws to make specifically, like, road blocking illegal, because you can't allow a few nutcases to shut down society like that. And that does shut down society. If you can shut down transportation and roads, you basically have, like, that's one of the soft spots in our open society, is the ability to, obviously we all want a free society where people can do whatever they want, but that comes with responsibilities. And if there are weak spots in it where you allow a few sort of activist extremists to bring society to its knees, you need to be able to close those loopholes legally. Right now, the people who are running over protesters they're the ones who are getting charged. And I mean, yeah, okay, I understand. It's you still can't run people over. At the same time, you
Can't you now?
Well, I mean,
You
I
can't
don't
get caught.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, exactly right. I don't personally have any animosity towards it. I understand where they're coming from, but yeah, I think they're going to have to deal with that from add some laws or something to make specifically, like, blocking roads illegal. If you want to say, like, unless you have a permit, but there should never be permits granted for people to block roads.
Have you seen what DeSantis said about this?
No, but I can
Uh-huh.
imagine. But let us know.
No, you can't. No, you can't. I got a
No.
couple of videos
Okay.
about what DeSantis said and one of the sheriffs out of Florida said too. It is fucking hilarious.
Okay.
They were warnings before the protests, and I found two videos of what's the word I would put on it? Irony? Ironic. Okay. I found a bunch of ironic videos because goddamn, if you've been looking at what's going on in Gaza, like if you're the reality check that Western activists got over the weekend in the Walk for Gaza, where they tried to enter Gaza through Egypt and they got their first taste of what Muslim laws or Muslim customs or what Muslims as a whole will do to protests they really don't agree with. Guess what? It ain't what they thought.
Yeah, it's classic fuck around and find out. And you know, I think it's just classic. You can see the flaws in it's that classic identitarian left thinking where, you know, they genuinely thought they were going to be welcomed with open arms. They thought the Egyptians would be like, oh yeah, finally some people in the West. They thought, oh, every Muslim, you know, just because they're Muslim, they have to be on the side of the Palestinians. Most of them, I don't even think they realize that the Egyptians have put up a giant fucking wall that would be like, you know, the most extremist anti-immigration MAGA far right.
It makes Trump look like nothing.
Yeah, it would be their wet dream to have a wall like that. And the Egyptians don't give a fuck. They, you know, there's a reason why. Yeah.
Do you mean this one right there? Is that the one you're talking about?
Yep. There's a reason why they put that wall up, and it's because they do not want any Palestinians, any Gazans coming into Egypt. And the thing is like, you know, people left, they think, they only think through identity. They see the entire world through identity, primarily identity of race and ethnicity and religion, and they were convinced that because the Egyptians are also also Islamic, that they be, you know, that they would be on their side. They welcome with open arms, and they found out the hard way that's not the case at all. They fundamentally do not understand the politics of the region. Yeah. And I mean, just the fact that no Islamic countries are taking in Palestinians whatsoever as immigrants, that alone should be, you know, give us pause to you know, I don't have an issue if you want to give out a few refugee claims to women and children, maybe men, if they come as a husband of a family with them and children, they're genuinely trying. But like this idea of letting in young single Palestinian men is the most insane fucking thing I've ever heard into the West. It's just, you know, and it doesn't even have to be like, oh, you know, the left will make that a race thing. Oh, you're racist. No, it's because they grew up in a fucking, you know, even if we put aside who's right and who's wrong, the simple fact is they grew up in an extremely militaristic, you know, environment. As school children, they're taught, you know, how to, you know, we've all seen the videos of the kids being taught about the martyrs and you know, they do dress ups where they strap fake bombs to their chest, and like, it's not, you know, just even if you agree entirely that Israel's in the wrong and Palestinian cause is just, you still should be real wary of allowing large numbers of young single Palestinian men into the West, because that's just a recipe for disaster. The Egyptians on their border, who are also Islamic, they don't want any fucking part of it. That alone should make us think a little bit about it.
Well, it did not seem to affect the thinking of Western protesters that actually got on planes and went to Egypt thinking that they somehow would be able to go through Egypt, cross that wall we just showed, and march to Gaza. But bro, I have a collection.
Yo, there's so much content of it. I've got a bunch of videos too. It'll be good.
You know what? There's here. This is probably my favorite. It's a bit long. I'll stop it because it's like 5 minutes long. But it's literally a white guy, a Westerner, that's trying to talk to the police to let them know that he's right.
Yeah, trying to convince them, right? Yeah, I've seen that video. It's one of the ones that I got.
Is it this one? Is it this?
Yeah, that guy.
That guy. Jason, do you remember?
Jason, good to see you, bro.
Do you remember the video of the the break dancer that was from Australia?
Oh yeah.
And she was the perfect definition of a DEI hire. She couldn't dance worse as shit. She will be remembered for the person that will destroy the chances of breakdancing to ever make it to the Olympics again, well, that guy's that guy. That guy will become a meme. No questions about it. He's a meme now. It's for him.
That's a great analogy, because I feel like a lot of the problem with DEI, as I see it, is that it actually is hurting the causes it's trying to promote, in theory at least. Like, obviously the Olympics is it's not exactly hard politics, but the fact that she was, if you know the story behind, I forget her name, but she was it basically was a DEI, like it was a lot of politics behind the scenes. Like she she got put there for reasons other than her dancing ability, and because of that, breakdancing as an Olympic sport is a joke, and it will not be now. I don't think it should be anyways, but it certainly won't be now entirely because of that. So it's a good analogy as to how. But yeah,
it is not the dancing that I grew up around. Asians, they would dance just for shits and giggles, too stoned, too drunk. They would start dancing. They would smoke her. Like they weren't even trying. They were just black dudes being black dudes listening to rap would put her to shame. They weren't professional. They were just dudes with rhythm.
And she didn't have it.
So let's just watch a portion of this. This is exactly what I've been thinking for years by looking at woke people thinking that they can stand up to powers that won't let them. You're starting to see the shift in the US where people are no longer being polite with their cars, and I have a few videos of that. But this hopefully is a great awakening for a lot of the left that Muslim values don't align with Western values.
I mean, well, let's watch, because this is a great video. I love this guy.
Genocide of a people. Please, 4 times I've been to Palestine as a nurse. I paid for myself to go. They are hearing me. This man is wearing a Palestinian ring. They are all Muslim. This is a genocide of a Muslim people by Zionists.
They can't hear you. They're not hearing you. They can't hear you.
They don't give a fuck. They can hear him.
They can't hear you. I'm sorry.
I'm a nurse. I saw them shooting people in refugee camps.
They're waiting for orders, and that's it.
I know.
They can't hear you.
But they don't have to follow the orders.
No,
yes, they do, man. This guy understands nothing about power whatsoever. None of these leftists do. This guy thinks these soldiers are just going to be swayed by his words.
You are part of humanity. You are my brother. In Islam, you are my brother.
Are you Muslim?
Please, I had them saw them shooting pregnant women. Muslim women.
No, you didn't.
These people aren't Muslims that are doing this. They're Zionists. They're not Jewish. Please,
I think we get the point, because this goes on for 5 minutes, but it's just, hold on. Before I do anything else, because I found another video, and funny enough, he is the first character in that video, but this guy is becoming a meme, fortunately. Hopefully people will listen, but this is what actually happened. Like, I have a bunch of those videos. So people were protesting, and guess what? They're not in a Western country. When they had enough, guess what they did? They dealt with the fucking problem. They didn't let the children do whatever the fuck they wanted. They actually acted like parents and said, enough.
Never seen or experienced anything like it, please. I will beg you. Allow us to march to Palestine. Please, you've got to listen to me.
On the global march to Gaza in Egypt, we were stopped at a checkpoint. They took our passports. They've detained us. I'm going to show you. They put us in a barrier like animals. Look how they've locked us in. They've locked us all in. These are all activists. These are all people. We are
just
activists.
So oppressive, but they've allowed them to keep their phones.
And they've brought the army. They've brought armed cars. They are going to take us back to the airport to deport us. We have done nothing wrong.
Never seen or
Oh yes, I mean,
There's people in
Oh,
masks.
hold on. Like,
okay, there's more. But wait, there's more.
Please, someone screen record this. There's people in masks dragging people out. Thank you, John. Thank you for screen recording.
Yeah, and
Pass på dem där. Pass på dem kommer in. Ja. Vi sitter här i bussar och håller på att bli vägbussade från checkpoint tillbaks till Kairo. Och det är full action här. Det ser ganska illa ut det där faktiskt. Det ser inte så bra ut idag.
never heard from again.
but there's so many of them. There's so many videos.
It's so, and it's not just the police. The Egyptian people. I've seen some videos where the Egyptian people are getting in on it too.
Those are just the people.
Regular ass people. They want no part of this Western bullshit at all.
No.
Like, so.
And you know
Go
what's funny is this, like what he said right there, what Mr. Doctor is saying. I'm surprised the Egyptian had so much respect. And look at this.
You can see
Like,
he has our passports.
what the fuck did they
This is
expect?
unbelievable. And the rest
What's
of the people are still
unbelievable?
with us.
Unbelievable. They think they're so entitled and coddled by our governments. They genuinely think that all governments are like that, and that they like. It's so hilarious to listen to them. It's they're like, oh, we're being treated so terribly while you're live streaming on your fucking phone. You're like, the Wi-Fi is only 3G over here. The bottled water is. We don't even have Dasani. It's no name brand bottled water. It's so unbelievable. It's a war crime. It's a genocide over here. These people are fucking morons, and there's so much packed into this one event. That's why I really like. I like this event so much because it's such a great microcosm of how much like they're so smug and entitled. They genuinely think like you see that guy like on his knees like an utter moron begging these soldiers because in the movies, you know that little speech. The soldiers will have this like, you know, they'll this change of heart and they're like, you know what, you're
This
right.
Come
And
to Jesus moment?
Yeah, come to a fucking Allah moment or whatever the fuck. And they generally think they're gonna put down their arms, forego their like it's like they genuinely think that these guys do not exist except as, you know, villains and the role they play in their story is that they are the soldiers. They forget these guys have lives. They have wives and kids. This is their job. This is how they pay their bills. And the utter arrogance to think that these Western morons know more about the Palestinian conflict than the guys who live literally right next door to it. But that's just it. They think that they are the main character in this great drama, and everyone else is just a supporting role to support their heroic story. And they genuinely think that, you know, this heartfelt message is going to just, you know, open the hearts of these Egyptian fucking soldiers and that they're saying something that these soldiers have never heard before. You know, Mr. Doctor says here, he seems like a paid actor and he's not. I know he does, but he isn't. That's a real person. But that's the thing is, left-wing activism it's so performative. They genuinely think they're the starring characters in a movie that was made just for them. And if they just say the right words, like a cheat code in a video game, you know, if they press like up, down, left, right, A, B, select, start, or something that the gates will open and they will be the heroes of the story. And It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And, you know, you love to see it when you got like, it's just classic left-wing pie in the sky ideology meets the cold, hard face of reality. And the reason they think this is because they are coddled in the West. Our governments do, you know, give them all kinds of leeway we validate them in ways that we should not. And, you know, everyone has a right to protest, and I'll always, you know, defend that right. But you don't have the right to shut down society. You don't have the right to shut down streets. You do not have the right to go out and harass other people, Jewish students just trying to get to work. You don't have the right to destroy property. And we in the West have become weak and soft, and we need to take a page out of the Egyptian playbook, because I didn't see anything there that was wrong, right? Like, they're lucky they like if they weren't Western. I mean, I guess there is a certain amount of entitlement and privilege, because if they were just, you know, some foreign soldier or foreign citizens or even their own citizens, they got thrown in a fucking van. You wouldn't see them for 5 years, and they come out a very different person. You know, so it's the fact that they're Westerners means that they will be treated better. They won't be tortured. But you know, Egyptians are not going to allow. The rest of the world does not fuck around with this woke bullshit. They see what it is doing to the West. They see how it is destroying us from the inside, and they're not going to allow it.
But it's more than that. But it's more than that. Those soldiers, sure, they're doing their job, but how many of them actually don't want Palestinians there? How many of them?
I
don't
bet you all of them.
No, but that's my point. He's trying to convince people that don't give a shit about what you're believing. Now, it's sad that that guy's trying to make that speech. He's looking for likes. He's looking for views. That guy doesn't, I don't believe for a second, he's a Thunberg. They don't give a fuck about what they're preaching. They fully know that they're never going to be able to they're never going to be allowed to go into Gaza as civilians. It ain't going to fucking happen. They know it. Because I guarantee you, if you open that door and say, oh yeah, go ahead, go to Gaza, no problem, doors open, go ahead, you can walk. Yeah, they're not going to cross that bridge. They don't want to. Because they know what it actually means. They just want to be a little martyr on TV. But the point of the matter is, how many of those soldiers actually don't care for Palestine? How many of those soldiers really don't give a fuck about their little woke ideology? And to be honest, I thought they were pretty good too.
Yeah.
I thought that they reacted. They were it's a good thing probably that there was so many cameras on them. Because I guarantee you, man, if there wasn't that many cameras, that wouldn't have flew that long. That would have been crushed from the get-go. But I'm surprised, though. One thing I'm very surprised about is that they actually let in those protesters within Egypt, that they did not see a trend.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't recognize it.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I have to, like, there's obviously organized. And I never heard about it until I got there. I don't think it was publicized. So maybe they just didn't clue in. But make no mistake, Egypt is absolutely like a repressive authoritarian regime. And you're right. If there were no cameras on them and they weren't Westerners, like if they were people who could be disappeared and no one would know, they would be. You know, they're really playing with fire when they go to Egypt and try this shit. And we are seeing, you know, there's a lot of comments here, and guys, we'll definitely get to those after the commentary part.
He is right. You are right about that, especially because of the pyramids. Because it's one of my dreams to go to Egypt to see the pyramids. And you're right; they will be they're friendlier. That's a good. You're a smart guy. One of the friendlier Arab countries. But as a Christian, I can't. I have to hide this. I have to hide my tattoos. I have to have respect for their culture, even if I don't agree with it. My wife needs to be covered. Like, there's a lot of things that you need to take into consideration when you're going to Egypt. Believe me, I looked into it because it's one of my dreams to go to Egypt to see the pyramids. But at the same time, you're absolutely right. They are friendlier. Friendlier is a perfect word. Very well said. Very well said.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, it's also because of pyramids. This is like, I think even most Egyptians, I think, have this understanding that the pyramids are sort of like a humanities achievement. And
they're one of the seven. They're one of the
the only seven wonders of the ancient world that still exist. Right, the other six have all disappeared to history.
Isn't Machu Picchu one of the seven?
No, I don't think so. I think it's like the fucking, what do you got? The Hanging Garden in Babylon.
I'm Googling it.
Yeah, Google. There's like the Colossus of Rhodes. some other ones. I'm pretty sure the pyramids are the only existing one. Machu Picchu, I don't.
Great Pyramid of Giza, Hanging Gardens of Babylon, Statue of Zeus at Olympia, Temple of Artemis at Ephesus, Mausoleum at something in Turkey. I cannot pronounce that word.
The mausoleum
Colossus of Rhodes and the Lighthouse of Alexandria. Those are the 7 wonders of the ancient world. But if you look at the 7 wonders of the world,
yes,
Machu Picchu is one of them.
Yep. No, I mean it's incredible for sure. But yeah, like the pyramids, like
have you been?
I never have. But I've I don't think
it's
I've
not
seen
what
it.
it seems, bro.
Oh, have you been?
Oh, yeah, I spent almost a month backpacking through Peru. Did not
that'd
like Machu Picchu at all.
Really, eh? It looks amazing.
Yeah, but it's ruined by the people that live there. It's ruined by the industry of tourism. It's all people are just trying to sell you shit. It's not a pleasant experience as the culture that's around it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had more fun going to Ica, for example, which is right next to the water. Yep. That's not as popular as the rest, or going to the Nazca lines. I don't know if you know what the Nazca lines are, but I went to the Nazca lines, which are designs that were done on the ground, on the side of mountains.
You don't really see them until you high up, right? Yeah.
You have, and they were done maybe 1,000 years ago. Nobody knows.
They're really straight and like
no. There's actual there's that. No. I know what you're talking about. They have some of those, but the Nazca lines, they have
or are they pictures?
Oh yeah, it's fucked, bro.
That's cool.
There's some of them that are literally you've seen the hold on, let me just, like, they have this, they have birds, these are the
I have seen these that spider there in the bottom right of that big picture. I've seen that several times.
The one that is the most fucked though, and I've seen it, this is not a joke.
The monkey.
That's a monkey, yeah. But that's an alien looking dude, and you might not be able to see it, but this is a mountain. So I had more fun going to see that in a little Cessna, than I did going to Machu Picchu.
And then, like, in terms of scale, like if you were looking at that, humans would be like a tiny ant, right?
Oh yeah, this is the side of a mountain, bro.
For them, honestly, I feel shit like that is more impressive, or like how they built the pyramids is more impressive to me than the biggest skyscraper that we build today. Just considering how they, it's cool that we build these giant skyscrapers, but we've got cranes and hydraulic machines that do much of the heavy lifting for us. You see stuff like that, you're like,
plus they don't know how they would be able to do the pyramids. So that's the little alien dude. So you see it like that's a mountain.
Just in a mountain, eh? That's incredible.
It is so fucked.
That's really cool.
You look at the pyramids to this day, they wouldn't be able to duplicate what they've done. And that should have, and they have estimates to say that it was about 5,000 years ago that it was built, give or take.
Yep.
There's erosion of water, so basically that's why they can date it to about 5,000 to 10,000 years, because they can see that the pyramids were hit by water, and the last time there was water in Egypt is 5,000 to 10,000 years. The whole history. I'm a big fan of the pyramids. If you see, they're still discovering shit right now that's underneath the pyramids.
Yeah,
it's fucking awesome. It's very very cool.
One thing I found incredible when I first heard it was that Angry Canadian says, "Isn't Dylan Mulvaney considered a wonder of the world?" I wonder, man. One of the 7 great wonders. One of the 7 great WTFs of the world. But yeah, one stat I always found amazing is that I think a lot of people think like ancient Egypt is all one civilization or empire, but it was actually like 3 different empires with like 600 years in between, and the pyramids were built in the oldest one, the Old Kingdom. And so, for example, when Cleopatra was around, in 2,000 years ago, we're closer in time to Cleopatra than she was to the pyramids. Like when she was around, the pyramids were old as fuck, and they didn't know who built them. They were already 3,000 or 4,000 years old by that point, which is pretty crazy. And Jason, he's talking about how he loved Machu Picchu. Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't like it. I mean, I guess it's always different from the pictures, but it looks incredible.
So here's the difference, right? I like to backpack. Yep. I like to go to places where I don't do resort. I don't. It's like one of the last resorts I done was in Costa Rica. But you know what I did? I actually left off resort. I found somebody that could drive me around, and I went exploring by myself how people live their culture, and that's what I did when I was in Machu Picchu. I was with my ex-wife back then, and I like when we went to Machu Picchu. So you have Cusco, that is the closest big city to Machu Picchu. I found a taxi that would drive us from Cusco, that would take us close to Machu Picchu, where I had to find somebody else when I was there. So I did it the way regular people from Peru would have to do it. I did not do it the traveler way. So we ended up in a super small town. The guy just drops us there. We find a little cafe that's in the house to wait for the other taxi that's taking us. But you're literally on the side of a mountain that's hundreds, if not thousands of feet high, no guardrail, only good. It's big enough to have two cars next to each other, but you have to have people coming from the other side. They beep. It's on the side of a mountain. So people have to beep, 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 beep to let you know that you're coming. You beep at other people to let them know that you're turning, because there might be somebody there that you don't see right now.
That's crazy.
But really, my ex-wife was sitting in the trunk, like the trunk was open. They dropped us off at another small place that we have to go walk through the mountains to actually get to Machu Picchu. So we did it not the touristy way. And then we arrive over there. It's the most touristic thing you can think of. It's just people take advantage of tourists, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
As a whole, it's great. Like the place is great. The mountain is great. You see what's left of the city that was on top of there is great. You get there in the morning so that you can see the sunrise. But the whole experience, like I couldn't wait to get the fuck out of there. It was just boring. It was just a very touristy town. It's just people tend to take advantage of it and they destroy the experience in the meantime.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that tends to happen. You see like these videos of like Mount Everest, which is like the super extreme accomplishment. But now it's like you got all these fucking fat, out of shape Westerners climbing Mount Everest, which seems crazy, but it's because now it's become like touristified or commodified. You go there, if you have 100K or 50K, you pay a couple of Sherpas to carry your shit. They literally do everything for you. All you have to do is put one foot in front of the next, and you get to say, you did this incredible achievement. But yeah, I mean, everything gets ruined, I guess, by tourists if it becomes too much. But just back to sort of the topic at hand. We remember we started that little rabbit hole because we were talking about why Egypt is more friendly to Westerners, because the pyramids, it's a major tourist attraction for their local economy. So it makes sense why they would be open, right? Why they wouldn't necessarily, raise eyebrows when they saw a bunch, because they're probably just used to having people from all over the world come in. If you had those same people going to Saudi Arabia, I guarantee it would have raised some eyebrows a lot easier. But yeah, I think, and then we'll take some of the comments because there's quite a few comments here on this topic, but I don't know. I just thought when I saw this, I was like, it's just sort of classic sort of like arrogance of what you tend to see in like far left activists. To the question of the day, do I think it's going to change anything? No, I don't. But I don't think that event is going to change anything. But what I think it is I think you're seeing things changing, and this isn't just another data point in that observation. I think, certainly the rest of the world, I think, has seen everything they need to know to see that they don't want any part of this woke bullshit. And you're going to have a lot of like the rest of the world does not fuck around with this stuff. Like they're not going to allow foreign protesters to come in and cause the kind of disruption that they're causing over here in the West. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny that they thought that they were, I genuinely believe they were shocked. I think they thought they were going to get open arms. But again, it's sort of typical.
But technically they did. It's just when they started acting like idiots.
Yeah.
Well, because 15.7, as per Google, AI of Google, in 2024, Egypt welcomed a record 15.7 million tourists.
That's crazy. That is crazy. Like here, this is just another video, kind of in the same context of the one, but I just wanted to show this because it's not the soldiers that are doing it. It's like the just regular ass Egyptian men who are saying, you know what, fuck these cunts. Like, we're going to deal with this ourselves. And you got the women in the background, like, who were cheering the men on, saying Allahu Akbar. You know what I mean? It's pretty funny. Just regular Egyptian men who are just not having it. The women just randomly shouting Allah Akbar, like, you know, I
But
think,
what do they expect? This is the part that will always blow my mind is what the fuck do you expect? Their values are not the same as yours. If you're going to go visit their country, respect their custom.
Yep.
You are not from there. You're not a citizen. You're a visitor. Act like it. If you come to somebody's house, you're not putting your dirty fucking shoes on his couch. There's going to be fucking consequences. But this is the part that hopefully, I hope this wakes a few people up. I doubt it. But this is my problem when I talk about the Muslim culture and the Canadian culture. Right now, Muslims are only 5% of the people in Canada. What happens when they're 20? Because that's what's happening right now. Just look at the UK, just look at France, just look at a lot of countries in Europe. This type of shit is happening more and more in those Western countries. There's things you can do, and there's things you can't do anymore in countries that are supposed to be Westerner countries. So those woke idiots that were there, I guarantee you that they praise Muslims back where they're from, and they don't see a problem with their culture not adapting to the culture of Canada and the US. This is a problem. Do you think they're acting like that in Egypt? Just in Egypt? Imagine that they become a 20 to 30%. This is the estimates that experts are saying that if you get 20 to 30% of new people that don't agree with your culture, that are trying to actively change it, this is what's going to take, about 20 to 30% of that new breed of culture to change the old one. Do you think that's just going to happen in Egypt? No, it's not. Our values don't align.
Yeah.
Do I agree that they should be beaten? No, probably not. I don't think that protesters should be beaten. Now, should they be allowed to block traffic? Should they be allowed to block streets? Should they be allowed to do whatever the fuck they want, destroy their own neighborhoods? No, there should be consequences to those actions. Are those consequences getting your ass kicked? Arguable. But in this case, they weren't destroying anything. It's just that the people that are there don't agree with your values. And they're like, you're in my fucking country. You respect my fucking values. It's not that hard to understand. What the fuck is going to happen when the same people that are in Egypt, for example, are here in Canada and they believe that their Muslim values are indeed, like Carney said, Canadian values? This type of shit's going to happen here. Like, what the fuck do they expect? Their values don't align. Plain and fucking simple.
And that's a great point. And I don't see why that has to be a controversial statement. Like, it's perfectly fine.
Not.
For them, oh, I know it is. It certainly isn't here, but like, just it is for a lot of leftists. Like, it's perfectly fine for foreign countries to have their own values. That is perfectly fine. And if I were to move there, I would not expect. I would change my behavior to fit their customs and values. And everyone understands that's appropriate. But for some reason, there's a lot of people on the left who think it's racist to suggest the same in the opposite. For us to say, no, we have our own values here, and we'll welcome visitors, but you have to respect our values and our customs, because that matters too. There's nothing wrong with us having our own values. There's nothing wrong with them having their values. The only thing that's wrong is to expect that other people can come from different cultures with different values and have the expectation that they have the right to impose their values onto us. I just want to take a question here from Jason here. He says, so he said Egypt took their part with regards to taking Palestinians. They have 100,000 Palestinians there, to the credit of Canada.
About 110.
So yeah, and I mean, I don't. I mean, I guess so. So I did just do a quick Google search because I don't know the stats on this. I said, does the Google search was, does Egypt accept refugees? And this is the first article that came up. Let me see, add the stage there. Yeah, so this is from the Associated Press. So I mean, it's not, I think it's pretty neutral, at least, if not left leaning.
No, it's very AP is very left leaning.
Yeah, and they say why Egypt and other Arab countries are unwilling to take in Palestinian refugees from Gaza. And as you scroll down, they basically talk about it. But this quote here, stood out to me. Jordan's King Abdullah II gave a similar message a day earlier, saying, "No refugees in Jordan, no refugees in Egypt." I mean, that is pretty clear cut. It's not ambiguous. If there are 100,000 Palestinians in Egypt, and I have no problem accepting that fact. I assume it probably happened before October 7th, before this all happened. But I think post October 7th, they ain't having it. I don't think they're allowing anymore. I don't think there should be a blanket ban on refugees from Palestine, but I just think they should get some extra vetting. And I think that's perfectly reasonable. Certainly, I don't see, broadly speaking, it should be the Islamic countries that are accepting them, right? That's their culture. That's their values. That I don't see how that's a controversial statement either. It is not the West's job to be the landing zone up for the rest of the world. Anyone who says the West, it isn't doing its part in regards to taking in refugees and immigrants is either a fool or a liar, because we're doing more than
you're welcome to give them your personal money.
Yeah,
you're welcome. Yeah. I invite all those organizations, all those countries, all the Zelensky of the world to start their OnlyFans and start their GoFundMe campaigns and have people give out to them if you want. Taxpayers' money shouldn't be used for that, but if you want to give your personal, I can't fucking stop you.
Yep, 100%. Should I go back and take some of the comments from this?
Oh yeah, because I'm absolutely done with this one.
Yep.
Except all I'm gonna say is hashtag Queen for Palestine. Hashtag Queers for Palestine.
Queers for Palestine. Yeah, well, that gave you a little taste of what actually would happen, right?
No. If you were trans there.
Well, yeah.
I don't think that would have been. The people there seemed pretty visible. Straight guys and straight women. That's pretty much what I've seen. I didn't see any dudes in dresses there, because I guarantee you that wouldn't have flew.
Well, even if there was
they would have flew. They would have flew. Sorry.
Even if there was imagine if there was just a rainbow flag or a trans flag, it wouldn't fly.
No.
I mean, I just, that's the one thing I don't really understand about this. Clearly, let's just say, for the sake of argument, we all agree Israel's in the wrong, Palestinian cause is just for this argument. Fine. Undoubtedly, Israel still is far more aligned with Western values, with the values here in the West, and progressive values, liberal values. So why would the act, I could understand being against Bibi Netanyahu and the right wing, you could call it takeover of Israel. Sure. So then activate against that, try to save Israel, understanding that, yeah, maybe you don't like the current direction Israel is going, you don't like their leadership, but as a society, as a culture, Israel is overwhelmingly more in line with Western values, progressive values, liberal values than any of the Arab countries. And it's not even close. And one thing, this isn't about the Iran-Israel war, that's going to be the hot button topic over the next couple weeks. But I think you're seeing, in my opinion, I can understand people who make the argument that Israel's gone too far in Gaza. I probably agree with that. I think they have gone too far. However, I do understand where it's coming from as well. But I definitely understand that. But when you extrapolate to Israel and Iran, to me, that's unambiguous who the bad guys are there, who the good guys are. And if people are still hating on Israel in the Iran-Israel war, I don't think being opposed to Israel because of what they're doing in Gaza makes someone anti-Semitic. And I think that's a valid argument and criticism, even if I don't necessarily agree with it all. I can see it. It makes sense to me. But if you're taking the side of Iran and the Iran-Israel conflict, I mean, that to me, that just seems like, okay, now it sounds like there's just an anti-Israel agenda. And is it even anti-Israel or it's just anti-Jewish? I don't, unlike the identitarian left, I don't want to just use, say everything is about bigotry and hate and anti-Semitic and this or whatever. But it's starting to, if you're going, like I said, if you're going to take the side of Iran in that conflict, to me, it seems like there's a deeper agenda here, and it's really not about the cause. It's about just being anti-Israel.
I'm not seeing it though. I agree with you, but I'm not seeing it. I don't know for you, but I haven't seen people.
There's some of them
in North America.
Yeah, like on social media. It's certainly not as clear cut as when you're talking Palestine. Yeah. But I do see some of them who are like pro Iran. I would say it's not nearly as widespread, but if you start to see that, the left start to become more and more pro Iran in that conflict, I mean, to me, that's sort of a mask off moment.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so I'll take a couple of these comments here. Bumpy Johnson says that white dude is so pathetic, makes me racist against white people. Yeah, he's it was pretty cringy seeing him on his knees like a fucking simp, begging Egyptian soldiers. Man, this is not a fucking Disney movie where like the heartfelt speech just melts the hearts of these soldiers and they give up their whole careers. Because what do you think would happen to them? If one of a couple of these soldiers were like, "You're right, I've never heard that before," go on through to the border.
But that's not even the problem.
They would have been executed by the Egyptian military.
But they don't believe in what you're spewing.
Yeah,
that's the thing. They don't care about what you're saying. Yes.
Yeah.
So not only are they doing their jobs, but how much you want to bet that you ask them individually behind closed doors, they don't want anything to do with your bullshit.
Yeah.
There's a good reason why there was no LGBTQ flags. There's a good reason there was no pride flags. There's a good reason why there wasn't any dudes dressed in women clothing. They fucking knew. To me, those were bullshit activists that were looking for clicks, that were looking for likes, that were looking for views, just like Greta Thunberg now saying that she was abused somehow. They put nails in her fucking sandwiches. Like, they're just looking for clicks, and that's why they were there. They didn't.
Is that what Greta's saying? I didn't see
somebody that was with her was actually saying that they put nails in some of their sandwiches.
Then don't eat the fucking sandwich, Greta. Like, you know what I mean?
No, but yeah, there's a bunch of videos showing them ditching their cell phones before getting pulled over or getting boarded by Israel. Like, the guys are like, okay, get rid of your cell phone, throw them in the water, throw them. So, they were doing shit that they were not supposed to be doing. So at the end of the day, this was just likes they were just trying to get views, trying to get clicks. And that dude, I don't believe for a second that he believed this speech. He's just a very bad actor that I'm surprised they weren't laughing in his face, because he would have made that speech to me. I would have fucking laughed at him. Not because I don't care about the atrocities and the war that's going on between the two countries. It's just, I know what you're doing, bro. I've met people like you my whole fucking life, the victim mentality. But like I said earlier, there's no fucking way in hell that if they did, you know what? If the guys would have just said, "Yep, go ahead, go ahead. Here's the door. You know what? No problem. Go ahead. Go to Gaza. No problem." They wouldn't have crossed that fucking door. They would have found another fucking excuse.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think you're probably right.
Thunberg was not going to go to Gaza.
Knew, yeah, that was the point. She knew they were going to get boarded, and she knew they'd be treated really well because she's for whatever reason, a celebrity in the West. There were going to be cameras on her.
But they advertised it. If they really wanted to go in there, you think they would have used an account with millions of fucking followers? They literally hashtag Israel at Israel in they made sure that they knew they would get stopped. They could complain about it. That has nothing to do with the fucking conflict. Same thing for those idiots.
Yeah,
plain and simple. I don't believe it for a second.
100%. And they, to the extent that they were genuine, like, it just shows how arrogant they are, that they thought these people who live nowhere near the conflict are going to come and tell Egyptians who are living right next door, like, who they clearly understand the dynamics far better than these privileged white Westerners, but they just, they are as Mr. Doctor says, these privileged white saviors thought they could just sit there and quote unquote free Palestine. And of course that is correct. And it's funny because, it's the left is always talking about privilege and white privilege, especially, but there's a very, it's funny when you see the demographic and just to tie this in to the next topic we're going to go on to after we finish taking these comments, which is about the No Kings. You start to notice some similarities when you see the pictures of the demographics of the people that are out there. And I can tell you right now, it's the highest
people,
white privileged people out there, right? So it's pretty funny to see that connection. Miss Doc says they're so arrogant to think their presence makes a difference. Yeah, that's correct. It says they're like theater kids, same energy. Yeah, it's kind of what Nico was just saying. Like, it's all performative, right? It's not like if they actually thought they were going to get in there, they wouldn't have done it like that. Same as Greta Thunberg. Bumpy says, to be fair, I saw similar speeches during the convoy protest, referring to that guy. But at the convoy, it was Canadian on Canadian, not some rich foreign twat crying. Yeah, and that's the difference, I think.
But there was, I was there, the convoy, there was a massive difference. As somebody that didn't take the whoop whoop, most people, 90% of Canadians got it. You 90% don't understand what it was for somebody like me. I had no life anymore. I lost my career. I couldn't teach martial arts anymore. I couldn't even go to the gym. I literally had to build myself a gym. The two places I was allowed to go, grocery store, pharmacy. That's it. I couldn't go anywhere else. I wasn't able to take public transportation anymore. I wasn't able to leave my country. I was able to use most of the services that I fucking get taxed 50 to 55% of my salary back then. Yet, they shut it down. Why? We weren't violent. We didn't do anything wrong. It only became violent when the RCMP showed up and started pushing and stumping on people. That's it. It wasn't violent until then. We have the right to protest. Is it inconvenient? Sure, it's going to be inconvenient. But you live in fucking Ottawa, plus you have a Free Palestine protest every single fucking weekend. Yet I don't hear you complain. Did you see what Indians did over the weekend? I'll show you some videos. They were parading in the streets of Ottawa with knives, with ceremonial knives. Have you ever seen those knives before? So basically, don't give me this shit. Don't give me that bullshit. There's protests in Ottawa pretty much every single fucking weekend.
Yeah.
Of every single month. So don't give me this shit. It's just one of those things that we wanted the lockdowns to end because there was no reasons for it.
Yeah.
So comparing this, we meant it. We were there, people meant it. And you know what? Unlike what the news was telling you, it was non-partisan. And it was white, blacks, greens, orange, purple, whatever the fuck you wanted. You had Indians, you had natives, you had black guys, you had white people, you had Asians, you had every single fucking color present there under the same banner that we had enough. And most of the people that were there were vaccinated.
Yeah.
They just wanted enough with the lockdowns. It wasn't an anti-vax thing. It was enough
lockdowns.
The fucking lockdowns, because the truckers that started the convoy had to be vaccinated in order to cross to the US. It wasn't just a Canada thing. Biden still needed foreigners to be vaxxed.
Yeah.
So it's not even an anti-vax thing. It's just a freedom thing. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all it was.
And I mean, even Bumpy added on, I think this is the difference. It was Canadian on Canadian, not some rich kid foreign twat crying. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, whatever your stance on the convoy is, the fact remains, everyone has a right to protest whatever they want in their own country. It's just a little bit much when you see these foreign kids. Now, I guarantee you, if it was all Europeans who were coming over here doing the convoy protest, that would be different, right? Because just if you're a foreigner, you shouldn't be going to other countries to protest their domestic politics. Jason says, you are aware they're not letting journalists into the West Bank, right? Israel will give you the tour. This is like visiting Hermosa Beach police to prove everyone is equal. I understand your point. I understand what you're saying here. Anybody who thinks Israel is not also heavily engaged in propaganda is also either a fool or a liar. Of course they are. Of course they are going to, make it so that you only see the good things. By no means do I think Israel is blameless or does not have blood on their hands. Absolutely they do. The issue is, like we've talked, like it's complicated, but yeah, I your point is taken. I don't think you'll ever hear either me or Nico say Israel is like the good guy here.
No.
Well,
they're all full of shit. Every single side of that fucking conflict is full of shit. They've been going at it for more than 1,000 years.
Yeah, that's
like
more the point,
1200
I think.
For like 1,200 years. I think Islam was invented 800 years after Christ. So they've been going at it for at least 1,200 years.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of both of our arguments in this. And I know Jason would say, well, they shouldn't be giving, $3 billion a year to Israel for the military. And I think we would both agree with that. I mean, I don't think they should.
They shouldn't have been giving $175 billion to Ukraine either.
Yeah.
So, I don't think that we should be giving any of that fucking money away.
Yeah. And I mean, Jason says here, we have a general agreement. If you commit violence, obstruct the lives of others in a physical way, it hurts 100%. The cause and make all the detractors say I told you so. Yeah, that's right. I mean, and Jason's always 100%. Been consistent with this. Obviously we're not always see eye to eye on the specifics of the Israel-Palestine conflict, but he's always been consistent that if you're crossing the line into violence, destruction of property, harassing people, he's not okay with that. And I mean, that's, that to me, those are like, as long as we can agree on those things, we can have the debate about other stuff. And that's going to be productive. All right. Angry Beaver says, good afternoon, boys. Good afternoon to you, sir. Then there's some Machu Picchu talk. The Dylan Mulvaney thing that was actually really funny.
I like this one.
You guys think the pro-Hamas protests will increase or decrease once the war ends? Interesting. I think that much of the pro-Hamas protests is just, we've talked a lot about on the show about the activists as a personality type. Don't even think a lot of these people care what they're activating for. It's just whatever's trending. From the river to the sea.
Exactly.
I have no doubts about the genuineness or authenticity of people like Jason. I know he generally believes, is concerned about the cause, but I think there's a lot of them, especially the ones that are the high profile professional activists. It's just a job for them. It's narcissistic fuel. And so to that end, I think whether the war ends won't really make a difference. What will make a difference is if it remains trendy or not. If it remains trendy, they will continue to protest it. If another trendy topic comes up, they will move on to that. I mean, we see it clearly with Greta. When's the last time she ever talked about climate or CO2, right? Not trendy anymore. But
I would love to see the studies. I would love to see the numbers of how many protests for climate change and free Palestine happened on June 14th, the day of the No King protests. I guarantee you it's that much. It's all the same people. How many climate change protests has there been since the Free Palestine movement has become so popular?
I can't think.
I don't see it. No. I don't see anymore. So the thing I would like to see is how many of those people are the same. How many are the same people that?
That Venn diagram is a circle. There's how
many of them were climate change that went to Free Palestine, that went to No King, and now that No King is done, they're gonna go back to Free Palestine. But my question is gonna remain the same: doesn't climate change matter anymore?
Well, apparently not. It's not as trendy.
My point exactly.
And I feel like it's always going to be the go-to, the backup. Like if there's nothing really on the go, they'll fall. You know what I mean? They'll fall back on climate. But it's just it's hard to take a lot of it seriously when you doubt the authenticity of the protesters, and because there really is no obvious connection between climate and Palestine. There's no
one caused the other. Sorry.
Yeah, they'll say it. They'll make some imaginary connection.
Did you not know that climate change is racist?
Yes. Well, yeah. You see that all the time. This intersectionality of climate change affects black and brown people more, and blah blah blah. And it's and they have to make those connections to make it all kind of coherent, even though it isn't. But in reality, there is no obvious connection. The only obvious connection.
There's no connection. Stop with the obvious connection. There's no fucking connections between the two, except the morons that flip-flop on those protesters.
And then
that's the only connection are the protesters themselves. That's the only connection.
That's right. And yeah, that's a good point. Mr. Doctor says the protesters are so arrogant to think that Western values are better than everyone else's. It's actually more colonial than anything they accuse Israel or Western governments of. Yeah, I mean, I agree with this, but it's also funny because they are arrogant, and in theory, maybe they think that Western values are better than others, but they're also protesting against countries that have a much more aligned with Western values as well. It's all it's all entirely incoherent, and it only makes sense when you understand that it doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? Like when you're trying to make you ever see that meme with the guy who's at the whiteboard and he's doing the conspiracy theory? He's got all trying to draw connections between 1,000 arrows pointing this. It's like that, right? And then when you just say oh, okay, wait a minute, they're all just morons, and they all just want to protest something. Honestly, I do believe, and then this is, I think you can really go deeper, and this is a whole other conversation, but I think there is a connection between the left, who has destroyed so many of the things that traditionally give humans a sense of meaning and purpose. And by that, I mean community, family, all those things. They've destroyed this, and now they don't have a sense of meaning and purpose. And so they go head first into these causes because that is their replacement. That's giving them a sense of meaning and purpose. I think there's a lot of that going on.
I've said this so many times over the past few years, and as Joe Stradamus is asking, gee, what is the primary basis of all this conflict?
Joe's saying religion.
But the whole point is people lack purpose. Yes, they will align 100%. With anything that makes them feel better and makes them forget that their life sucks, that they have nothing going on in their lives. So they need to attach themselves to a movement where they feel, and just like that white guy that you saw trying to praise, I'm not saying he doesn't believe this shit. He probably does believe this shit, but he's somebody that needs attention. He's somebody that is probably mentally ill, that needs some type of psychological help. And instead of treating his problems, he's attaching himself to a cause where he can feel superior to the rest of the people.
Yeah, and I do think this is where Joe Stradamus was going with this, is religion is the primary cause. But and I'm with Joe in the sense that I also am a non-believer. However, like we were just talking about meaning and purpose, like it or hate it, for all the the evils religion has been, all the evil that has been done in the name of religion throughout our history, one of the main causes or main sources of meaning and purpose is religion for many people, right? And I think when you get rid of that as well, that's where some of this crisis of meaning comes in. And that's why a lot of these protests and these left-wing activists, it almost seems like it's a religion, it's got a religious fever to it. And I think that's not a coincidence. I think it's because many of these people, we've often commented on the similarities, like when we talk about, say, trans activism, how trans ideology has become religious in nature. And again, I don't think that's a coincidence. I think it's that the left has basically secularized itself. It has pushed the abolition of religion, and then they didn't really think it through, because once they did that, the people who have just completely walked away from any sense of spirituality, they still have those needs, and they're filling them with some of these postmodern new age ideologies, not even understanding that's what they're doing, but they're just right back to the religious. It's just a new type of religion. It's not one that they think of as a religion, but it has much of the same characteristics or traits.
There's a good reason why any Marxist movement, doesn't matter that it's the original Marxism or that's wokeism of today, always want to cut the link to God and replace it by themselves. We have a need for it. We have a need to believe in something greater than ourselves. No matter that you call it a little white guy with a beard sitting in the clouds, or a guy that got crucified, or just the universe, nature, however you want to frame it. But at the end of the day, there is value to religion. And if you weren't there at the beginning, I don't have a good relationship with my mother, but it was the Christian thing for me to do, to have her, to at least open the door for her to be part of my child's life, to be part of the celebration that happened over the weekend. That was the shower for my very soon to be son. I guarantee you, bro, that if it wasn't for the fact that I read my Bible, that I understand what it's preaching, I would have never invited her. I would have said, fuck you. I'll forgive what you've done, but I'll never forget. And I will draw the line in the sand right there. If it wasn't for the fact that I have a moral obligation to be better than what I am today, even if I disagree with it, in a good way, obviously, it wouldn't have happened. So it was really just the fact that I'm a Christian is the only reason my mother was even invited and will be invited to be part of Eli's life.
Well, and that's a good example of how whether you believe in religion or not, it can have good there are benefits to it. Joe says it's practically impossible to criticize Israel without being called anti-Semitic, and I agree with you. I think that's nonsense. I think we should try to push back against that wherever we can. Israel is a country, and it has policies, and those policies can be criticized and should be criticized when we disagree with them. And anyone who just will automatically call you anti-Semitic to shut that down is not being intellectually honest. They are engaging in propaganda. So yeah, I mean, I understand, and I agree with you on that point. Bumpy says, perhaps the Israeli strategy is more focused on combating a regime of bloodthirsty psychopaths that use their children and elderly as political fodder. Yeah, I mean, there's things you could say about both sides in the Israel-Palestine conflict that are, many of them are propaganda on both sides, and many of them there's some truth in there too. So that's a good comment there. Just trying to see a couple here.
Try to make sense of this one. Nico opened the door and said that it was very good. Try reconciliation of a relationship requires the ability Nico put on display. Oh, okay, shit. Now I get it.
Yeah, he's saying,
I appreciate that. I wasn't sure when I was just reading it at the corner. Cool. Well, brother, I think we should all do that as a whole. We should all do that. Can you imagine if those two people, the people of Israel and the people of Palestine, tried that?
Yeah.
No, but I'm serious. I'm serious.
Yeah.
Disagree with Christianity all you want, but remove all the stories that you don't agree. You don't agree that God came as a human, got crucified for your sins. That's fine. No problem. I got no problem with people not believing that. But tell me that the major aspect of the New Testament's what it's trying to preach to you, that they're not right. Please enlighten me. And I can argue with the Old Testament. You know what? We can argue it was a very violent time, but the New Testament, I put you to the challenge to tell me what's wrong in there. Homosexuality is probably one that people will argue, and I got to say that one I don't understand.
I don't even think the New Testament I don't think Jesus ever talked about that. About
Jesus has never. No, Jesus has never talked about it. It was not John. It was the guy that started the. Why am I drawing a blank? Paul. Thank you. It was Paul that talks about it. Which I got to tell you, this is probably my biggest problem with the New Testament is that part. I've never had a pastor be able to explain it to me in a way that it made sense to me, because at the end of the day, I don't give a fuck. Personally, as a human, I don't get it. I don't understand. As much as I kid around about being gay on the weekends, I don't fucking understand it. It makes no fucking sense to me. But at the same time, does it really impact my life? No. So what the fuck do I care?
Yeah. And that seems to be the more modern take, I think, even from the religious right. 20 years ago, the religious right was pretty hostile, actively hostile to gay rights, and these days it's not really.
But you were wrong even 20 years ago. Even if I don't agree with it, even if I don't understand it, and even if I thought that it was wrong, who did Jesus hang out with? Sinners.
The sinners.
So today he would be hanging out. If he were to come back today, I guarantee you he'd be hanging out with bikers. He'd be hanging out with LGBTQ people. He'd be hanging out with at the pride parades. He'd be at the places he believes there's the most sinners. That's what he did back then. Guarantee that's what he would do today. So
Jason says a large percent of the trucker protests were American. Are they not considered foreign? I mean, I honestly don't know.
I don't believe that's accurate.
Yeah, I was going to ask Nico about that. Because I don't know.
Not that I saw, man.
And let's just, for the sake of argument, let's say they were. Would that be considered foreign? Yeah, I mean, clearly, technically, they are. They're not Canadian. They're foreign. I don't know. I think in this context of just our cultures are so intermixed. I think, you know, what happens down in the States, it affects Canada. What happens to Canada to a lesser extent will also affect the United States. I think you could, from a cultural perspective, I think you can consider Canada and the US kind of the same society. Certainly not politically, but maybe culturally. I don't know.
I think that's incorrect, Jason, as in there really wasn't a lot that were involved physically over there, but there was a lot of support. As in people donated from the US because it was the only protest going on in pretty much the world where people were like, fuck off, we're done with this shit.
Yeah.
So I don't remember seeing a lot of Americans there when I was there. And I believe there was somebody else in the comment that was there. I can't remember who it was, but somebody mentioned that they spent, I think it's Ozzy Osbourne, angry Canadian, that said that I spent 9 days in Ottawa during the convoy. Best memories of my life, man. It was great. I agree, man. It was great. I don't remember seeing a lot of Americans, even the truckers, like the license plate, because they literally parked their fucking trucks in the middle of the street. So you could see the license plate, and everything I saw was pretty much from out west.
Yeah. And just even to Jason's point, like, yes, obviously an American is a foreigner in Canada. Would I consider that foreigners? Certainly not in the same way that I would a Westerner going to Egypt to lecture them about their Gaza policy. I mean, maybe I'm splitting hairs here. Maybe I'm being a little hypocritical, but, you know, it is what it is. Jason says Greta in her diesel-powered yacht and private jets to the climate summit hurts everyone's cause showing up. Yeah, that's a good comment. She does. You know, if you're one of the biggest killers of activist causes is inauthenticity and hypocrisy. And if people start to sense that the leaders of a movement don't actually believe in the things they're saying, that is a poison that will rot from the inside. And I think that's, you know, if I were part of the pro-Palestinian cause, I would be probably concerned about that. Bumpy, the ultimate irony. No king protesters, and we're going to move on to that here in a minute.
Right now,
no king protesters praising Canada, a nation ruled by a foreign king that America broke away from. That is the ultimate irony. It's actually really funny. And that we'll use that to segue to our topic, James. We discuss that. And as we do that, also, guys, remember to like and share the stream as Squirrel Nuts here has done. We appreciate that, Squirrel Nuts. Also, if you guys are on X and you can run over to YouTube, because that's where all the action is. That's where all that little box you see in your bottom right, all the comments come up. You can actually, that's all over on YouTube. You can engage in that directly there. And once you're there, please remember to like and share the stream and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you really want to be wild and you want to support the show, you can become a member for the low price of $2.99 a month. And that will support the excellent independent media. Is that what we're going with? Independent media. I don't know. I feel like independent journalism seems a little.
No, I'm not a journalist.
Much. Yeah, but we are independent media, and honestly, I believe shows like this are probably the future of media. So, it is your end run around the stranglehold of traditional mainstream media has on the information sphere. And if you believe in that and you want to support that, that is the best way you can do it. So with that, let us move on to the related topic.
It feels dirty.
What journalist?
Reporter, journalist, media.
I like media just because like media as the actual word, you know, for like medium, and like it's just a word that defines like information, like people who disseminate information.
I agree, bro. I actually changed my description on my social to say independent reporter, but I feel kind of dirty. As much as it is true, I feel dirty saying.
Yeah.
Dirty.
And
when you're having time to take a shower after the gym and you start eating your food.
It's gross.
Your sweat is drying. Yeah, this is how I feel.
That same feel. I'll just take this quick question before we do move on. Just says Jason says, I cannot leave here without being fair. Nico and Rob have no problem with all Muslims, just the ones who cherry pick scripture to be fucked up with. Yeah, and I appreciated that, Jason. I mean, look, we clearly, especially this one issue, we really, don't always see eye eye to eye on, but I always appreciate the debate with you. You know, you are always a good faith debater. You know, it's clear that you know, you're actually trying to get the issue right, and I always appreciate your comments here. We love you, buddy.
I think the whole point of this is that there's nothing racist about us saying that Western culture and Muslim culture are not the same and they don't align in our values.
No.
Like,
and
this is just
we don't even
fucking
have to apply a value judgment. We don't have to say
leave
one
it
is
there.
better. They're just different.
Let's not reopen that door. That's
Yep.
all I'm saying. They're
just different, and that's perfectly
Zing.
fine.
Yep.
And that's completely fine.
Want to switch?
Yeah, no Kangs.
No king. So I found a little video that explains it. And then I found my favorite leftist, what he had to say about it, which Donald Trump retweeted a Democrat's tweet, which I was like, oh, goddamn. Yeah, I actually thought it was hilarious. But
all right, I got to take
here
quickly,
is-
play the video.
Yep.
I'll be back.
Here is a little idea of what the No King protest, unless if you've been hiding under a rock over the weekend, that one's for you.
From coast to coast, some 2,000 No Kings protests are happening across the United States in opposition to Saturday evening's military parade to commemorate the U.S. Army's 250th birthday.
I can remember in 2016 all the propaganda that was put out on North Korea and how they had a show for Kim Jong-un's birthday and all the rockets that they displayed and the nuclear weapons. And the West took that as an insult and kind of a threat. Well, I see absolutely no difference in what's happening in D.C. right now.
It's a rare display pushed for by Trump during his first term in office, not seen in Washington since America claimed victory in the Gulf War in 1991. Organizers for No Kings have called Saturday, which is also Flag Day in the United States, a nationwide day of defiance to reject authoritarianism, just days after Trump federalized the National Guard and sent active duty Marines to California to quell protests against ICE raids in Los Angeles.
Well, I mean, America's about democracy. What we're seeing right now is not democracy. It's about one person, their ego, their agenda. It's not really about, you know, the land of the free, home of the brave. It's about one person trying to be a king.
This guy makes me so laugh. So he's saying he's not living in democracy, yet he has the right to protest the person that's in power.
And he's talking about the person in power is a democratically elected president. Like, the fact of the matter is yeah, this whole argument, it does make you laugh because they're not protesting democracy. What's actually happening is this is democracy. They just don't like it. They don't like that their guy or their girl didn't win. And that's not how democracy works. Like, I have not seen anything so far to suggest, like, I don't think Trump's been authoritarian at all. Like, even the calling out the National Guard for last weekend, there haven't been no reports of abuses by the military. It worked. You know, it actually stopped the protests.
Where did those riots go? I wonder.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's funny how the media just completely just like didn't even just stop talking about it. So like, if someone's gonna have to actually give some evidence of him trying. You know, he's a democratically elected president. They just don't like it. And that's not how democracy works. The fact of the matter is if you don't like the president, just do better next time. Pick a better candidate, and then you too can be the elected. You too can have a president elected that you like. Just the fact that you don't like what the president's doing does not make it anti-democratic.
Demonstrators in D.C. started a day early. This footage capturing a group of veterans breaking down barricades and rushing the steps of the Capitol, where 60 people were arrested.
I like how they're saying, this is global news and they're full of shit, because I've seen the protesters breaking down those barriers. They weren't veterans. They were little leftist twats. Like, come on, look at this. You're seeing literally 20-year-old tiny women with fat guys. Those are not fucking veterans. Bullshit. They're not. I've seen the videos, but they're like, oh, they're wearing army gear, so they have to be Bitch, please. Bitch, please.
Just before you play that, we'll take the.
I'm a veteran. That's it. I'm a veteran. I have.
Oh, you're a vet. Stolen valor. We'll take all the comments after, but I just want to
let's just finish.
Highlight
let's
this
just,
one. I just and that might be true, Joe. By no means would I'm not an expert in American politics, but yeah, just as we play the video and we'll take the comments after, but just throw in the chat box specifically what are we getting wrong here?
Found barricades and rushing the steps of the Capitol, where 60 people were arrested, while Republican governors in Virginia, Texas, Nebraska, and Missouri preemptively planned to mobilize their National Guard units. And Thursday, this Florida sheriff threatening protesters who get out of hand.
If you throw a brick, a firebomb, or point a gun at one of our deputies, we will be notifying your family where to collect your remains at, because we will kill you graveyard dead.
Jesus, man. Ooh.
This has got to stop.
President Trump has warned that anyone protesting the military parade will be met with heavy force. Candace Cole, Global News, Washington.
Wow.
And this is, this is the part that, hold on. Let me show you something before we carry on. Because before I put context to this, just go on X, just Google, just put in search for No King. This is fought fascism in 1945 at 102. I'm doing it again. I'm like, what are you fighting? You're not fighting shit. You're literally comparing Hitler to Trump or Trump to Hitler. Is that what I'm hearing right now?
Yeah, it's like the whole point of fascism.
Nobody's eating the dog. It's been proven that they actually did kill some pets.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, that's.
Fuck, I was just watching a video from the UK where people are eating the geese. They're
eating the dogs. They're eating.
What's the white? What the swans?
Yeah.
They're actually, they've been caught by the government going to parks and eating swans. So
I mean, no, those are facts. Like, was it overblown by the right? Probably.
Of course it was. Everybody does that, right?
But did it happen? For sure it did. I've seen enough and that, to me, that like, is it that crazy that people from a different culture come over and do some things that are taboo? I don't think that's crazy at all. What is Trump,
by the way, if you've seen this, because I saw that over the weekend, I'm like, oh shit, man. Did he actually say that? It's fake.
Wow.
I went through all of his social media. It's fake. And you can see, as a guy that has those templates, even the writing is wrong. You can see that they don't match. It's not the same black. The black's completely different, but even this is a hoax. So a huge thank you to all the No Kings protesters yesterday. I was very concerned the king.
I wish he had said that.
Take my place.
I wish.
Well, hold on. I found. I'll play a video where he actually said something about it. It sounds not like that, but pretty fun. Trump being Trump.
Yeah, of course. Like people who are saying like, authoritarian, fascist, that kind of stuff. Like, you got to understand, like, the president who is being elected, a democratic elected president, doing things that he said he was going to do, is not fascism just because you don't like them. He, as far as I'm aware, he's hasn't done anything illegal. There have certainly been things that have been challenged in the courts, and the courts have ruled against him at some places. They've overturned some of the things. Remember, the courts said with the Abrego Garcia guy who was sent, they said, no, that was wrong. You have to get him back. And he's back. I'm not any type of Trump defender, but if you're gonna, make those kind of accusations, you got to bring some receipts with that, and I just don't see it. And I'm open to it. Don't get me wrong. I'm no fucking tanky for Trump. I'm open to the argument. We've talked about this before, and you've not agreed with me. I do think Trump has authoritarian tendencies. I think he has some of those traits, and probably most leaders of the world,
they all do. Politicians
as a whole have the ability to it. The whole point is that we don't. The American system is set up that it doesn't rely on the goodwill of their president to not be authoritarian. It's set up to have checks and balances so that if he is or does things that are authoritarian, he will be checked by the judiciary. And I mean, so far, to me, the system seems to be working. The point is, the fact that you don't like what a democratically elected president is doing does not make it fascism.
See, this is the type this is the type of stuff that I find so funny. Really, they're you've seen tanks with Trump flags on it. This is how they see themselves. That's how you remember that, right?
Oh yeah.
That's how
Tiananmen
they
Square. Yep.
Yeah. Yet this post is great. No kings. How long have there reigned in
Oh,
government?
I bookmarked that exact post. I wanted to play it. I want to show it today too. Right, exactly right. You got fucking Nancy Pelosi, 40 plus years, and you know the whole. And then you're talking about Trump being the king because he's been in power for 5 years total. I don't know.
See, her having a no king. You know why there's no king? Because she ate.
Yeah. She ate the king.
But
go ahead.
You know, well, all I was going to say is, oh, this is so freaky. We're popping in the no king. Our own podcast
our
right
own
now
stream.
is popping on the no king.
So we're watching.
Yeah,
we go down that rabbit hole. We're watching ourselves on the stream, and in that stream, we're watching ourselves on the stream.
But see, this is me from a few weeks ago.
Oh,
shit. This is so creepy when you see
at the gay pride parade.
That's why I shaved the goatee, because I'm like, people will recognize me.
Yeah. Like Clark Kent puts on glasses and no one can see that he's Superman.
There was one. What did I want? See, this is the one. So check this out. Here is something I found was very interesting. So on his Truth Social, Mr. Trump has reposted this.
Okay. So
this is yes, this is on X. This is U.S. Senator John Fetterman saying this parade is comprised of our sons, daughters, mothers, and fathers, the very best of us, regardless of your politics. It's appropriate to celebrate the 250 years of sacrifice, dedication, and service. Because that's what it was all about. It was about celebrating the 250th anniversary of the American Army. And people were complaining about that to a point where Fetterman, a fucking leftist, posted that. And you know what Trump did? Took a screenshot of it, reposted it on his Truth Social. So the president of the US, that is a dictator and a fascist, reposted a tweet from his direct opposition, a guy that calls out Trump all the time.
Yeah, the argument of like a lot of the criticism is focusing on the military parade. That's utter nonsense. There's nothing wrong with a fucking military parade. No. Anyone like if you hate that, never go to France during Bastille Day. You know what I mean? It's like a giant military protest. It's so ridiculous. Like the person made the comment, the comparison. Well, North Korea also has military protests. Yeah, they also fucking eat bread in North Korea too. That doesn't mean that eating bread is fascist. You know what I mean? It's
it is.
That sort of argument is so stupid. There's nothing. Military parades are just fucking cool. You know, who doesn't like to go and see tanks and soldiers and whatever the fuck, right? It's cool. Like, stop being a fucking killjoy. Let people enjoy. You know, if the military parade had fucking public executions, yeah, okay, sure, I'd agree. That's too much. But like, it isn't about that whatsoever. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just one of those things that if it was Biden doing it or Kamala Harris or Obama, they wouldn't care whatsoever. It's just like that stuff is just. It's that angle of it is stupid.
You know, I made a post about this the other day where I was just calling the irony of the difference between the left and the right, because you know when Trump started fighting with Elon Musk, they weren't friends anymore.
Yep.
I haven't seen any protests from the right going to destroy Tesla cars, yet the left did it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
It seems like the children and the adults are just not dealing with the problems the same way. It's okay to disagree. It's just okay. You want to protest like that? No king, no problem. Protest. No problem. I don't see a problem with that. If you're not going to be violent, if you're not going to make other people's lives complicated, who the fuck cares? You have the right to do it. I don't see a problem. But just keep that in mind. Like, that was his answer to it. I just thought That was the day prior to the protest. I couldn't
Yep.
find a video of him talking about it now because he's at the G7, so I guess he has more important things to do.
Mhm.
But here's Trump on the No King protests.
No Kings protests planned across the country on Saturday as well. What are your thoughts on those?
What do they go? No king?
No Kings.
I don't feel like a king. I have to go through hell to get stuff approved. A king would say, I'm not going to get this. A king would have never had the California mandate to even be talking to him. He wouldn't have to call up Mike Johnson and Thune and say, fellas, you got to pull this off. And after years, we get it done. No, we're not a king. We're not a king at all. Thank you very much.
Well, there you have it.
Man, that's he seems sharper now than he was in like 2016, 2017.
Cocaine's head of a drug.
Yeah, I know shit.
Cocaine's head of a drug.
Cocaine, fucking Dave Chappelle show. That was great.
You know why? It's probably because he's been on Joe Rogan's podcast and he gave him his little intelligence pills.
Yeah.
Oh, Joe Rogan talks about it all the time. There's
What are
pills
they?
that-
Are they?
I can't
Is
remember what
it
the term is.
modafinil, or they call them daffies or whatnot? Or
I
is it
don't.
like-
I don't remember. It's
Okay.
just something that helps with your neuroplasticity.
Okay.
It helps regenerate bridges between your neurons for the people
Interesting.
that don't know what. Yeah. So Alpha Brain. Oh, Mr. Doctor is on point.
Is that what it is? Okay.
It's his own brand.
I'm
yeah.
actually gonna look that up. Oh, it's his own brand. I don't know. That automatically makes you think, okay, it's just marketing. And he's just trying to
No,
make
but
money.
he became associated with it after he's been using it. He makes a
Okay.
joke about it. He's like, I love the product so much and I have to invest. So
I mean, I actually, I don't know. I feel like maybe
Alpha
I'm wrong.
Brain.
Maybe I'm being naive, but I think Joe Rogan has credibility in my mind. He doesn't strike me as just like the guy who would just show for whatever for money. I mean, he's got enough money. Like I have to imagine
like 250 mil or something.
I feel like if he's, I don't know. He just strikes me as authentic. I don't know. Like him or hate him. I don't agree with everything he says, but he seems like
I don't agree with most of the things you say, and I still respect you. So
yeah, exactly. Well, that's what this show's all about, right? And yeah, before we take a couple comments there, I was just one thing I wanted to about the No Kings is let me add that there.
Oh, there's
One
a
thing
bunch of other things. There's a bunch of other things.
Okay, yeah. Well,
I got videos especially for you afterwards. They just
okay. So like I look at this. Just look at the faces here. Kind of zoom in. Okay, it's one picture. I'm seeing a very specific type of demographic.
Boomers,
a lot of white people, a lot of old people, and okay, sure, this is just one picture. Let's see. Here's 4 pictures. Okay. Well,
I don't understand. What are you trying to? I don't see races, bro. So I don't know. I don't know what you're talking
No,
about.
you don't see races. You only see one race in these pictures. There's lots of old white people, lots of old white people, and I mean, old white people. They have the right to have their voice heard too. Of course, that's not the issue. It's just, I don't know, man. You look at some of the other, like you said, the convoy. It was fairly diverse, right? It's got a lot of, people from different backgrounds and whatnot. I don't know. It just seems like to me, if you've got, the one thing that the old white people all have in common is they're the ones who still religiously watch mainstream media, and I think there's a direct connection between that.
Coincidence.
Yeah, like not saying that everyone who there's lots of people who are opposed to Trump who are not. I would say, like, for example, Joe is heavily anti-Trump, and I don't think he is any type of like just mindless mainstream media watching automaton. So there are definitely people out there who would agree with these protests and also are, come to it from a different perspective. But I do think there's a lot of, and you saw it in our election up here, where the boomers, again, were what won Mark Carney the election. And they were also heavily influenced by mainstream media because a huge amount of their support for Carney come directly from their opposition to Trump. And the media made the connection between, voting for Mark Carney was in some way a vote against Donald Trump. I don't see how exactly, but clearly that connection was made.
Oh, I got a great video about that where Carney is again praising Trump at the G7. So yeah, hoping elbows up, elbows up,
bitches. Yeah. Is there any more vids you want to play about that, or should we just start with some of the comment?
No,
do the stuff you got.
There's one, because there's one that started this whole thing. It was just fucking hilarious.
Yeah, and then
trying to find, because did you hear what DeSantis said last week about this? Because just like the Florida sheriff, that's like, yeah, if you start attacking us, we'll notify your bit extreme.
Well, I mean, like I thought the body bag part was like right in the sweet spot of like messaging. And then when he said, "We will kill you," I mean, maybe it might have been a little bit too far in the messaging thing, but I mean, extreme times, right? I think, broadly speaking, I do agree. I like that people can still talk like that, even if I wouldn't talk like that myself.
Well, listen to this. This is, I found my other video I was looking for. So here's what DeSantis said. It was a bit more politically correct without
sure.
It's still hard hitting, but somewhat politically correct.
Also have a policy that if you're driving on one of those streets and a mob comes and surrounds your vehicle and threatens you, you have a right to flee for your safety. And so if you drive off and you hit one of these people, that's their fault for impinging on you. You don't have to sit there and just be a sitting duck and let the mob grab you out of your car and drag you through the streets. You have a right to defend yourself in Florida.
So he said that, but hold your thoughts. I got a couple of funny ones for you. This is that one, bro, I almost peed my pants. There's two videos I need to show you. This one, awesome.
Stop, you're gonna run her over! Stop, you're gonna run her over!
Then move!
I'm not getting out!
Then move!
No, hold on, listen to this.
Don't kill me!
Just let go.
But that's not the one I wanted. There's one of them where she takes her masks off and she's like, "I'm human," and she's this big lesbian with no hair. She's like, "I'm a human. Look at me." All she has to do is to move over,
get out. That's oh my god! Like,
but at the same time, if they attacked me, like if I was the truck driver and they came at me, I would say it to them very simply. She was having the most exercise she's ever had in her life. I was helping her. I thought it was my duty to help her exercise.
Yes.
But
I care about her health and safety.
You get this.
Yes. This is one I saw.
That's swing.
Yep.
And you know, and like before it starts again, look at the car goes ba-bump, like somebody got something broken there.
I mean, to me, that's best case scenario. I don't want to see anybody killed. I don't want to see anybody seriously injured. But if your foot gets run over and you break a bone in your foot because you're an idiot,
fuck around and find out.
Yeah, it's just this whole smug attitude that everybody has to adjust themselves to your behavior. Like the option of just not putting your body in front of the car, it doesn't even occur to them that's a possibility. Everything gets placed onto you, the driver. And you know what, DeSantis, I don't like DeSantis in a lot of ways, and a lot of it's even just personal. I don't like the vibe. He's got like a Weasley vibe. I don't like. But what he was saying there, I agree with him, man. Like, because anyone who's watched the LA riots, like, remember that famous case where the guy was dragged out of his car and beaten half to death and on live TV. Those things can happen, right? And you are a sitting duck if you are sitting in your car and people, and especially if you've got your family in the car. These protesters, and frankly, it shouldn't even be to protect those protesters. They should be put in place in laws saying you cannot block cars because of a protest. That's crazy. Like, you see the video of that fucking just giant douchebag leftist with the man bun, and the woman's trying to get to work, the black woman, and she's like, I'm trying to get to work, feed my kids. He's like, ooh, not work. You know what I mean? It's just the personification of just leftist arrogance and smugness. And I think this tactic of like, there's a collision course going on with this specific tactic of protesters blocking streets and the public just getting fucking fed up with it. And sooner or later, someone is going to get hurt. Someone is going to get killed. And, hopefully I think probably putting laws into place is probably the best thing that could try to avoid that. Have police out there enforcing that law specifically. Yes, you can protest, but if you're blocking the streets, that's real easy, in the back of a cop car, and then charge them with something that actually hurts, a pretty heavy fine or something.
Because there is, I have been in a situation years and years ago where I was leaving a bar. I wasn't drunk or anything, but I was there at the bar with some friends, and I had a friend of mine with me.
Yep.
And it was one of those little side streets close to a massive amount of bars. So people were drunk in the middle of the street, just fucking walking, not paying attention to cars. So I started beeping, just like boop, boop, nothing like, just like boop, boop, as in get the fuck out of the way. There's a sidewalk right there, drunkie. And the guys start charging my car. I know how to fight. I understand what needs to be done. If you can't run people over, you need to get out of the car. It's either or. You don't have a choice. You either run those people over or you get out of the car because you are a sitting duck.
Mm-hmm.
I got out of the car.
You absolutely are. Absolutely.
I just opened the bottom of my door and I stuck my foot at the bottom. As soon as the first guy got close, I kicked the door open in his face. I got out and I knocked motherfuckers out. But the point in the matter is I'm prepared for it. I saw it. I'm like, there's no way I'm just gonna sit here buckled in with two choices. I was lucky there were 3-4 guys, and once you knock the big guy out, bitches be leaving. They don't stand there to fight. If they see the biggest friend just got knocked the fuck out, they're gonna leave. But would I have done that if there were 10 of them? I don't believe in my skills that much. It ain't a fucking movie, right?
Well,
3-4 guys, not too worried. 10 of them, not happening. And as you saw with those protesters, they're literally going around. There's 7, 8, 9 of them. Yeah, fuck you. I'm going to step on the gas, and guess what? I'll deal with the consequences. But just so you know, I drive a truck, so motherfucker gonna hurt.
Well, and I think the sitting duck terminology is accurate. Like, think about, I guess if you're in a big truck, that's different. But just imagine someone in a normal sized car, just like the physics of it. Yep. You are down, looking up. Yep. They have the high ground. You don't have any range of movement. Like, you are a sitting duck in that position, and you just can't take those kind of risks with yourself, and especially if you have people in the car that you care about. And we're seeing a lot of this get more and more violent. So people are just going to start running these people over. And frankly, I don't think, unless it's like, if there's a protester in the middle of the road, not looking, and they just get hit or something, that's different. That is, but like, if they're consciously aware of what they're doing, they're sitting on the car or like that, trying to stop you from getting to where you're going. And it's not just about getting to where you're going. It's the fact that you are now stopped in the middle of what could very well be a violent protest. That is a high risk situation for yourself. And you should not have to, force yourself to be placed in that position just because these idiots want to block you from getting to where you're going. Mr. Doctor says, would you guys stop if protesters surrounded you? I think, every situation is going to be different.
I think I just answered your question, because I've been there before, and you know what, bro? I was not with my wife and children. If you put me in this situation, my wife is pregnant next to me, and you're surrounding my car, I understand what it is to be in those situations. And you know what? I only understand because I've been there and I train for those situations. It's not a fucking movie. If there's 7 people that are surrounding your car, they're attaching themselves to your car, I am not trying to figure out what your fucking intentions are. If you're fucking with me that way, guess what, motherfucker? My wife is pregnant. You're fucked. You're gonna get ran over. Because I'm
Yeah,
not
it's
participating in your bullshit. I'm
no,
not. I'm
you
not.
can't.
I'm really
You,
not.
you cannot
I
expect the
no,
citizens to put
no.
themselves in a high risk situation just because you have decided to, you know, attach yourself to their car, or you've decided you have the right to block this road. And that's just like a pure self-defense safety perspective. That's not even considering just the big picture. Should these people have the right to do that? We live in a free society. We have the right to get to where we are going. Yes, they have the right to protest, but it should be honest. I just think right now government should be putting these into law. You do not have the right to block traffic. There's so many. There's
unless you have a permit, but unless you have a permit,
sure,
because
sure.
But put that caveat in, because I do agree. I'm all for protesting. I'm all for it. If you have a permit, it's organized. You were supposed to be there, and I ended up taking a wrong turn, and I'm fucked. Guess what? It's fine. As much as I dislike the Pride Parade, that should never happen. Somebody sexual preference has no fucking opinion. That has no weight in my opinion. I don't give a fuck who you fuck. They still have the permits to have them. I'm not gonna go and run them over.
Of course, yeah.
Because they, as much as I disagree with what they stand for, they're still they have the agreement to be there. That's not what we're talking about. How I guarantee you that the No King protest that we're talking about here, they didn't run in 2,000 different cities with their permits and make sure. No, this is a very fucking different thing, right?
No, and I think that's a good caveat. I mean, fact of the matter is they block streets up. Mungo, thank you, sir. We'll get to that in 1 second. Fact of the matter is they block off streets, most cities, for Santa Claus parades, right? And that's obviously fine.
I'm running over Santa Claus next year.
Fuck these people.
That shit. Fuck Patty.
But so yeah, obviously there has to be a place for that, and you know, you're right. There are scenarios where, but that way, you know, at least government has a say in which streets are blocked. They can do it appropriately. They can look at a map and say, okay, if we block off these streets, we can open these streets or whatever. That's under control. That's fine. There is still order there. What we're talking about here is just these idiots who think they have the right to just unilaterally block whatever streets they want because they believe their protest is just. Moonglow, just today's super chat, sent a little tip our way. Thank you, sir. We appreciate that. He says, I was entertained on Saturday watching all white lib do-gooders get a few lessons from the Egyptian border guards. Yeah, if you thought that was funny, the first 45 minutes of the show was dedicated specifically to that topic.
1 hour and 50
minutes.
minutes.
So you might want to go back after the show. And I also believe that Moonglow just became our newest orphan. Appreciate that, sir. Thank you for the support.
Just the tip and the membership.
Just the tip and the membership. I love it. And also, about time. You've been here for a while. We've always appreciated your comments. And yes, of course, I'm teasing you. There's no need to, of course, become a member to comment here. We welcome all comments at all times, but we do appreciate the support.
Just let me take this one, because that I think is directly what I was saying. But Square Nuts is saying city people are hilarious with their permits. Let's protest. Oh wait, we need a permit to protest. Wow, it's a matter of respect. I spend most of my days not in the city. All I'm saying, it's a matter of fucking respect. If it's an organized protest, you're not destroying your fucking neighborhood. I don't care that I agree with you or not. Do I fucking like it that I'm going to be stuck in traffic because of your bullshit protest? No, I don't. But at the end of the day, if it's not violent, I don't care. Those idiots that you saw on those protests, they're being violent. They're surrounding vehicles,
banging on his window.
Yes, that is a very different fucking situation. And you know what? If I was an American, if I ever live in the state, I will live in a carry state. And you put my life in danger, you put my wife's life in danger, I'm coming out of that truck shooting. I don't give a fuck if it's between her, my kids, and you, motherfucker. I'll talk to Jesus later. We'll have a conversation and I'll explain myself. But don't give me this shit. It's just time that if you want to be violent, that's fine. You want to be violent with me? No fucking problem. But expect me to be violent. You're allowing me to be violent, and you're not gonna fucking like the result.
Yep, that's right. And I think I think the biggest problem with what we saw in those videos is just this breakdown of order. Once you have a protest that it has a permit, there is order there, right? That there's still that way. You can still look at Google Maps and you can see that it's blocked off. You can find a new route. But if you could just if any street can be blocked off at any time with no warning and no nothing, that's chaos. That is disorder. We cannot have that in a city. At least with a permitting process, there is some degree of control and order. There is, someone making a decision saying, okay, we can allow these people to protest at this time, at this place, because these other streets will be open, blah, blah, whatever, what have you. And as Scrollnut says, there's a difference between riots and protest peacefully. And, even though we do not agree with maybe some of the politics behind some of the protests, I think both me and Nico will absolutely defend their right to protest. Everyone has to have the right to protest in a free and fair society, but there has to be some rules to it. There has to be some order to it. That's a good comment, Squirrel Nuts, because there's a huge difference between a riot and a peaceful protest. Anybody who wants to just get rid of peaceful protesting, that's fascism, right?
Yep.
Moonglow got here late. We'll watch. Great show. Thank you. Appreciate that, sir. We appreciate you and all of our listeners and our members. All right. So should we jump into some of these comments here? Because there's actually quite a few. Some good. I think there's some good comments here. So Sylvie says, "Hi guys, bit late, but happy Monday. Happy Monday to you as well, Sylvie. Better late than never, as they say." Jason says the Hitler comparison is the laziest place since pretty much World War II. I'm talking about the guy that we showed at the beginning. Yeah, I mean,
was an old woman. Stop assuming.
Oh, bold of you to assume her gender. But yeah, I mean, you can dislike Trump all you want. I don't think he's quite at Hitler level yet, and I think it's a pretty lazy argument to say he is. So Joe is clarifying. Says he says no, Rob, is fascism because he ignores all checks and balances and consequences. I'm open to it. I'm open to the argument.
On what? On what?
Yeah, I mean,
on what?
Like the fact that he's certainly been taken to court, and the judges have ruled against him in some places, and so I guess you could say in that regard, he's done things, but so is Joe Biden, so is every president. The nature of the system is that some of the laws and stuff are not always clear. They're not always ambiguous. And presidents, by their just exercise of their duties, are going to be overstepping that sometimes. And that's what the courts do. I'd have to, you'd have to give some specific examples of him ignoring checks and balances and consequences. Like the one I was talking about earlier, like Abrego Garcia, the court said, nope, that was wrong to send him. And they said, you have to bring him back. And they brought him back. So, I mean, that's just one example. But that, to me, I don't think he wanted to bring that guy back. The fact that he did, suggests that he was obeying the judiciary. But again, I don't think Trump is some perfectly law abiding. I know that he feels he is in many ways, above the law to a certain extent, just like I'm sure probably almost every president has to some extent. I don't think, I just think a lot of the arguments, the criticism against Trump are even, many of them are valid, but also I think many of them could be applied to most presidents as well. But yeah, maybe throw in the comments there some specific examples of that. I haven't seen fascism or what I would consider fascism from the Trump regime yet, but I'm not saying that it couldn't be. I don't think Trump is a Boy Scout by any means. Mr. Doctor says it's not authoritarianism. It's called having an adult in a room full of liberal children. Yeah, that's a fair comment. He continues. He says we need strong leaders in dangerous times. Jason says just the mustache looks French gay. Talking about that clip of you earlier with just the French mustache. What? There.
It wasn't just a mustache; it's because my lips
that
are
little
too big. They
pencil thin mustache. Mr. Doctor, the military parade was a show of strength for Iran. The libs can cry all they want. It's not about them. There's more important things going on in the world than appeasing libs. I mean. Yes, and I know what you mean. I kind of feel like a lot of the military thing, the parade thing, is Trump's ego. he loves it. You know, he loves being like he is the commander in chief, and it, you know, it's got to be kind of cool to just be like, I want a military parade, and then there is one. You know, I would think that's.
But it
cool
was
too.
the 250th anniversary at the same time. It's not like
sure.
He had a good reason, no matter how you look at it. But I agree with him that what a timing to kind of show Iran the military after Iran said that if you do attack us, we will attack you.
And then boom, there's this giant.
But it's a
parade.
coincidence.
Yeah,
but it's a coincidence. Just a coincidence.
I look at it as more as probably like a happy. That actually might actually be a coincidence, like because I feel like the parade's probably planned for a little while, and this Iran thing just seemed like it popped up recently. At the end of the day, you know, in this day and age, I don't really know that you need parades to show military strength. People, you know, the Iranians, I'm sure, have pretty good idea of American military capabilities. You know, and much of those are not things you're going to see in a parade. It isn't really the tanks that Iran's worried about. It's probably, you know, you're not going to see the 11 U.S. aircraft carrier. They're not going to march down the parade. You know, you can't. They're not marching down ballistic missiles or that you know, drones in the parade. But those are the real sort of military strength things. But
it was also Flag Day. Don't forget, like it all, like Flag Day was on Saturday the 14th, on the same year as the 250th, just after Iran and Israel are at it.
Yeah. I mean,
all makes sense to me.
There's, I don't know. I just hate that whole line of argument from the left. Like, military parades are just fucking cool, man. Like, they're just fun. They're cool. Like you said, there is some 250th anniversary of some stuff. Like, there's plenty of reasons why it could have happened. By no means is a military parade in and of itself an example of fascism or authoritarianism.
Just like North Korea. That was North Korea.
Yeah. It's like, for sure it can be, but you know, Trump's always liked that stuff, right? He's always liked the military parade stuff, and you know, a lot of leaders probably do.
But it's only cool to manly people.
I think I don't know. I don't think anyone needs an excuse to like military parades. Like, I'm sure they can be used as a fascist signaling, but it's
unless they're Canadians. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's also just fucking cool, man.
Just like, walking, just the way the women were walking to King Charles, that was pathetic.
Yeah. I know. You mean like during the speech there,
the speech of the throne.
Yeah.
That was bad, bro.
The optics were not good. I did not like.
No,
those.
so I'd rather not see a military parade like that one.
Yeah,
but man, have you ever seen, as much as I don't like what they stand for, have you ever seen a Chinese military parade?
Those are sharp. They're real.
God,
sharp.
When they just, it looks AI. It doesn't even look real. It's so where they're crossing each other.
Honestly,
just like
to me that's a real, that kind of, if you want to say like show of strength, that to me is, because what that shows you is discipline. That shows what the men of the military, the men and women, I guess, of the military are made of. It shows like a certain amount of, you know, maybe you call it fanaticism even. It's funny because did you see the actual drill in the American parade that was just on the weekend? It was trash. There wasn't any of that. There wasn't like very sharp movements. No. It was just guys walking down the street in uniform. And I guarantee you, like, that is like, I do think if you know, there are certainly military parades that can be used as like authoritarian imagery, but to the extent that they are, it's when you see that like highly disciplined drill style, like 5,000, 10,000 soldiers in like perfect unison. You know, to just have a bunch of dudes like walking down the street in military, that's, yeah, like this stuff, that to me is, if you want to go like fascist, like that's authoritarian imagery for sure. And it's impressive, you know, it is, but that's not what the American parade looked like. That was just like tanks driving down the street. And who doesn't like tanks driving down the streets? I guess, unless you're in a war and it's the enemy tanks. No,
Shit, I should laugh at that. But
yeah,
that's true.
people don't like those. Mr. Doctor says Joe Rogan had a bit of credibility until he started supporting Palestinians recently. Honestly, I don't know, man. I think that kind of gave, in my mind, it kind of made him more credible because he's not. I didn't think he was pandering. I think he's trying to see both sides, and I'm by no means am I pro-Palestinian at all as far as the cause, but I do think I can certainly see a lot of the arguments. I do think Israel's probably gone too far in the recent sort of conflict, and I think that I think to me I saw that as a sign of him trying to be open-minded and going. I don't think he was caving to anything. I think he. There's a lot of people who, broadly speaking, I do support the right of Israel to exist and the right to defend themselves. But if I'm honest with myself, I have to think the last couple months it started to feel okay. There's some overkill here. On the other hand, I can see, well, release the fucking hostages. Like, they have Hamas has the ability to release a hostage. Now, if they release the hostages and Israel still keeps doing this shit, I would be pretty firmly on the other side. That would pretty strong. But as long as the Palestinians or Hamas has hostages that they are refusing to release, there's a little bit of I kind of see it as the way I see that protester getting run over by the car. You know what I mean? Like you have the ability to do something pretty obvious to stop this. Now, if the protester did something to stop it, i.e. by moving up on the sidewalk, and the car still follows her and runs over her, then I'm going to firmly go against the driver. You know what I mean? And it's the same thing. Hamas has the ability to do something pretty obvious to me, which is release a hostage. Now, if they release a hostage and Israel still keeps going after them like this, I'm going to pretty firmly move to be against Israel in this conflict. So, they've got some abilities to stop things. And they're choosing not to.
Before you do it, and that's why I was laughing, because I just saw I'm looking for a specific video and I can't fucking watch it. I can't find it where the people are just crossing each other at like millimeter close. It's just
like the drill, like they're squares
where there's two battalions that are just
it's incredible, eh?
And that was before AI. So I know it wasn't.
If you
AI,
saw it today, you'd be like, yeah, it's probably
AI.
Yeah.
But see, those are the type of stuff you're talking about, right?
Yep.
Where the people, but what's funny is that this is a video that was posted a month ago, but there's people going back. Who is here? U.S. military parade. This is a proper military parade. That's that's what Trump was hoping for.
I think there's, I think he probably.
I like witty comment. That part is like that's what Trump wanted on a 1-month-old Russian/China military parade video. It's awesome.
Yeah, oh yeah. I have no doubts that Trump probably would like that, and he would probably, his ego would be like, "This is all for me." I can see that about Trump. I don't think he's a Boy Scout, and I think it's very valid to be on sort of authoritarian watch with Trump, because I think he does have that in him. I think any man with a giant ego has that in them. What's that famous quote? Absolute power corrupts absolutely. You take someone with a giant ego and then you make them commander in chief of the most powerful military in the world. I don't even know if I would, I think we all have some of that ability. So I think it's valid to be on a watch for that. I just don't see it yet. Hold on. Jason says, about Joe Rogan, never promotes things that he does not use himself, and no, Rogan is not for sale with his values. That's how I see it. I mean, maybe, it's hard to say, like, none of us really know these people. One thing I think about Rogan is because of the nature of his show, where he's just kind of there. He couldn't fake it for this long, for that many hours. Like, I think
he's
more
a
or less
shitty actor. If you ever see his movies, he is not a good actor.
Yeah, I think what you see is what you get. I think so. And that's the vibe I get with Joe. So again, we all might be wrong. We never really know these people, but I think it's much harder. I think when you see someone puts themselves out there in that kind of a show where they just sit behind a microphone for 3 hours a day and just talk and talk and talk. If there's some inauthenticity there, it's going to come out sooner or later. And I think he's done a pretty good job of being more or less the same guy.
So let's change subjects because
sure,
we've covered two. I got another one for you. I saw this I think yesterday. Yeah, it was posted yesterday. I thought of you because this is your bread and butter. So hopefully you're ready for a rant because this one is for you, brother. This one's for
all right. Let's see this.
We have breaking news right now. Children's Hospital Los Angeles says they are closing their Center for Trans Youth Health and Development and Gender Affirming Care Surgical Department. The hospital CEO cites challenges due to the shifting policy landscape, Trump executive orders, the state's budget crisis, and threats to cut funding. CHLA say they rely on federal funding more than any other pediatric hospital in the state, and losing access to those funds would impact the ability to provide essential care to low-income children and teens. A memo sent to staff says they are starting to notify patients today and are seeking to find alternative providers for affected patients. A protest is planned for later this evening. Denise Dodor will bring you a live report on Eyewitness News at 6 o'clock.
It's going to impact our ability to cut the breasts and genitals off of poor teens, of poor children. You know what I mean? That's basically what they're saying. Oh, but this bill, it will be harder to cut off the genitals of poor kids. Yeah, that's the point. We do not want you to cut off the genitals of kids, any kids, poor, rich. Like the fact that they can call this healthcare with a straight face, it boggles the mind. It's like giving liposuction to people who are anorexic and calling that healthcare. You'll cut dealing with a mental illness, a psychological condition, by mutilating the body and doing physical surgeries. It's crazy that we got to this point, but within a couple of years, people are gonna look back at trans healthcare, gender affirming care, what they call it. We're gonna look back at that the same way we look at lobotomies today. We all see that as ridiculous. How could we think that shoving an ice pick in someone's nose and pounding it with a hammer to destroy part of their brain would ever actually be legitimate healthcare? And that's how we're going to look at trans care. So yeah, you're right. I like that. I like that story. I'm happy with that.
I hope that when it does happen, when we do look at that chapter in our history, that we will go after the doctors, go after the policymakers, go after the therapists, everybody that participated in this. We need to go after them and hold them accountable because they have destroyed the life of youth that will never get it back, especially young women, young girls that will never be able to know what it is to be a mother because they were convinced that something was wrong with them. So hopefully we don't pardon them like Dr. Fauci, and we actually allow us to go after them, as in prosecute them criminally, because what they've been doing in both the US and in Canada is
all over the West.
Criminal.
Really.
Is criminal. Absolutely criminal.
I agree. I think I think that there has to be evidence of like ill intent and not just like someone who made wrong choices but trying to get it right. But as someone who is in this scene, on X, this is the main thing that I discussed.
I'm in the scene.
I've seen plenty. I've actually seen myself, leaked emails. I've seen people who have detransitioned, who have posted screenshots of their actual email exchanges, and there absolutely are criminal doctors out there who have convinced, not just like thought that they were like they've had patients who were saying, I don't know if I'm trans, I don't know if this is right for me, and the doctor has convinced them, or the therapist has convinced them that they are, because it's ideological for them. And for many of the trans community, they need the trans child, the idea of the trans child, because that validates the idea of the trans adult, right? It allows them to say, oh, no, it's not just me as a cross-dressing man who, is getting off on this. It's an actual physical condition, or it's a mental health, it's a legitimate mental health condition. And that argument is much stronger if they can point to the idea. See, even children can be trans. And so they created out of thin air the idea of the trans child. And when you understand that, you do start to see how there's some criminal liability here. They have essentially convinced some of the most impressionable, vulnerable young children. Like, there's some things that are very overrepresented in most trans children. Things, autism, for one, heavily overrepresented. With victims of sexual assault, something like 80% of girls who identify as trans were victims of childhood sexual assault. That is just such a red flag. And to ignore that and say, no, you're trans, we should cut your breasts off, just to validate the cross-dressing men who think that it's, who are enjoying it because it's a sexual fetish for them. I mean, I don't use the word evil very much, but it applies here. And there's criminal liability, and some people have to be held accountable.
Leave the fucking children alone.
That's it. That's all it is. Just leave the kids alone. If you're an adult and you want to do whatever the fuck you want to your body, I don't give a shit. Just don't expect the public to pay for it in terms of like tax dollars or whatnot. Don't expect insurance to pay for it. Leave kids alone. It's really not hard. They keep pretending like it's really, really hard, but it is not. It's not hard to leave kids alone. Just don't do it. And then they cry, oh, we're being so oppressed. We're being so oppressed. If you just left kids alone and as an adult, you can do whatever you want. Nobody would care. Nobody would give two shits.
There's I saw a poll this weekend, and I'm interested. Since we have a few minutes left, just to get an idea of the people out there. But I saw a post. I need to confirm if it's true or not. I believe that it is. I'm pretty sure I saw that before.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a new policy in Italy that will make it extremely difficult or impossible for gay couples to adopt children. And I saw that, and I'm like, I personally, as a Christian, I'm not against the idea at all. I don't care if you want to be in a union between two same sex, you want to live together, you want to have the same rights as anybody else. Don't care. Whatever.
Yep.
Don't care. But if there's one thing I would really want to see is studies of children, how children do under same-sex couple being raised by two of the same-sex couples. Because all the studies that I've seen, men and a woman, is where you have the most normal children. I don't know if normal is the term I should use, but the most well-adjusted,
successful,
well-adjusted. We'll go for well-adjusted men and a woman. What do you think? Do you think? And it just, I saw that and I'm like, fuck.
It's an interesting debate.
I'm actually for it. I'm actually for that policy because it's a choice. If you want to be in a relationship with same sex, all the power to you.
Yep.
But I don't think you should be able to adopt children. That is something that I've held in my heart as a Christian. But I saw that and I'm like, fuck. It's one thing to think about it in your head, like, should they not? And then I saw that, I'm like, fuck. What do you think?
Yeah, so it's a really interesting debate, and I don't know if you know why this question has been in the news lately in the last day or two. There's a specific.
It really just popped on my feed, and I'm just like, because we're thinking about going to Italy, so I know that my phone's listening to our conversation, so it's showing me shit from Italy.
Yep. So there's a specific case that just came out, and I'll show you why. And this is
God damn, you were ready for that question.
Oh yeah. Actually, I didn't even think about it, but I think maybe it's even a topic we could discuss. So there is a gay couple who was charged just the other day for murder and sexual assault. He's a British couple. These two people here, they adopted this just beautiful baby boy who's 18 months old. He's now dead. They are two gay men. They adopted this child and they essentially raped him to death within 3 months of the child being placed in their care. They clearly adopted him just to use him as sexual gratification. Now, I think the right, and this is, it's a highly emotionally charged topic. In my opinion, I think the right policy here, and we can just remove gay out of this. It doesn't have to be about gay. I think unrelated men should not be allowed to adopt children they are not related to or have some connection to in some way. If it's your best friend's child, yes, fine. But I just, and I know that there's lots of men who will not rape children, would not adopt them. Maybe they just want to be a father. But I just think there's enough out there that, and this way we can just avoid the accusations of homophobia and say, oh, you just don't want gay. I don't think there's any reason why men, either singly or as a couple, should be adopting unrelated children, like going to an adoption agency and adopting a child. I think, a family, a married couple, absolutely. That's fine. I don't know. I just think that it's not saying that, all men are going to do this. It's just some men will, obviously. And it doesn't have, and there are straight men who would do this too. And I just, women, I guess you could, have that. I know this is probably a, sexist comment, but women just have that nurturing bond. I would be skeptical of a single man by himself who says, I just have a nurturing bond and I want to adopt a baby. I don't know. I call me whatever. I'm skeptical. I just, in the argument of protecting a child, I think it's just a blanket policy should be, men should not be, I don't think men need to be adopting unrelated children. Again, if it's a family member or even a friend who's died and, there's no other family for that child to be, then you just step up. That's completely different. But I think unrelated men who have no connection to the child whatsoever should not be able to go to an agency and adopt children, because it, as Sylvie says, like, I can't look at that poor little guy's photo. It rips my heart. Just what a beautiful child. And yeah, honestly, it just kind of tears you up. Yeah, here, a gay couple in the U.S. get 100 years in prison for raping their adopted son. So it happens, and it's out there.
They adopted two little brothers, and they ended up just raping the shit out of them. And I don't know, bro, I don't know how I feel about this, because this is a feeling. This is not based on facts. This is not based on anything, but I tend to agree with what you're saying. Like, I never really put serious thought. It had crossed my mind where to me, it's not natural. It just isn't natural to have gay couples adopting children. It's not natural. You're not able, in the same way as my biggest problem with the LGBTQ crap is what you need to indoctrinate children because you can't have your own. That bothers me. See, that whole shit bothers the shit out of me. So when I saw that post popping on my feed about Italy, I'm like, fuck, damn, that's a conversation I would love to have. I would love to have experts, which I don't claim to be one. I am not. I have my personal opinions, but they're just that. They're opinions. They're not based on facts. But I don't like it, man. There's something off about, I agree with you. There's something very off about two dudes or just one dude that wants to adopt. But at the same time, I've met great single fathers that could adopt, that would adopt if they could. And I know I would, if it is something I could do. My wife and I want to adopt. No matter what, we'd love to adopt just to help a kid that doesn't get the chance they probably deserve. Would that stop me if I was a single father? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If something, God bless, hopefully nothing happens, like God prevents this, but if my wife were to pass, would I still want to adopt? I probably still would, because that's just the right thing to do, if you ask me. So, but I know what you're saying. I fully understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, I know,
it's a fucked up conversation to have. Eh?
It's hard, and I know there's certainly some, like, I know it's controversial what I'm saying. Like, as Angry Beaver here says, if you look at cases of pedophilia in schools, is prominently women abusing boys. By your stance, Rob, no single person should adopt. Yeah, I mean, sure, for sure. I understand the argument. I just think there's a difference in degrees. I've never heard of a case of a woman. There are women pedophiles, of course, for sure there are. But I mean, if you think it's like an equal, there's as many female pedophiles as are male. I just don't think that's true. And even if you look at the cases, they're usually like what? 12, 13, 15, 16-year-old boys. I don't know there's any women raping 3-month-old babies or 12-month-old babies. And
so the level of perversion is what
yeah. And also just the damage to the kid. Like, of course, let's say there is a woman who's performing oral sex on a 5-year-old. That's illegal. That's wrong. That's immoral. He's not going to die. Just the nature of the biology of what it looks like. Like those guys are raping babies to death. Like those babies died from that rape. I mean, I don't know, man. It's a very nuanced topic, and I don't claim to have all the answers. I just and I to the argument you just said, I have no doubt that there are many men who would make great fathers who just don't have kids or whatever. And I think there are many gay couples who would be great parents as well. I just think the fact that we just looked at 2 cases where gay couples adopted boys to rape them and they died. So that is out there. And I think when you think, okay, if it's out there, it happens. I think it's one of those cases where just for the protection of the children, maybe the best case scenario is just to sort of ban it for all sort of gay couples and even single men. And that isn't to say that there aren't many single men or gay couples who would be great parents. I just think the fact that we know is out there. Like, are there examples of women raping kids to death? I don't think so. And I, again, we're going into sort of like quote unquote sexist territory, but there are differences between men and women. And I just think that a single woman who has this longing to just raise, have a child, let's say she can't, to me, I mean, call this sexist. I think that's natural. I think a single man sitting there like longing to raise a child that isn't his and he has no connection to, I just don't think it's natural in the same way. I think men absolutely have a nurturing and protective instinct, and it's usually activated by their own children or a child that they know, that they grew up next door. It's their best friend's child, and he can, you know what I mean? Like that to me, I do believe is natural. But I just think a guy sitting there in his home thinking, I have a deep need to raise a child that I don't know and have no connection with. I don't know. I know it's a controversial topic. It's actually a really good debate topic. I just don't. I just think it's something off about it.
I just like to open those subjects and let.
Yeah, it's a great topic. Yeah, it's a great topic, and maybe I know that it's the end of the show and there aren't quite as many viewers here, but it's certainly worth maybe we could talk about it as one of the, maybe not main topic, but as a secondary topic, because I would like to hear what are the viewers think. As Sylvie says, I agree with Rob. It's just off, and I'm trying to be careful. Like, it isn't to say that there aren't men out there who would be great fathers, but we also know that there are men out there like the 2 couple examples we just used. And I think I think you almost have to err on the side of caution. And some people are like, oh, so just because you're gay you can't have babies, and maybe the world isn't fair. Not everybody.
Listen, personally, this is the way I see it. If you're not able to create them, not as in you're sterile or there's something physically wrong with you, if you're not capable of doing it, should you have access to them? I would be okay with the no.
Yeah. I mean, Angry Beaver,
but I don't know if my views have any merits. I don't know outside of the way that I feel about it, which I don't like
exactly.
to base my opinions. I don't like to base my opinions on feelings.
Sometimes
but in this case, but it feels off. It feels off to me. I don't know, man.
Angry Beaver had single dads with higher success rate with kids and single moms, and that's factual. That's just true. But that's their own kids. And that's completely different. Like I said, even if it's your best friend's kid and he dies, you've got an emotional bond. Like, men have this feeling of themselves, I think, as protectors of their inner circle, and that doesn't have to be your own kids. That can be your neighbor's kids. That can be, it could be a neighborhood kid that you know, you've watched grow up and you've talked to him as he goes about his day, and you're like, that's a good kid or something. His parents die, and you know he's going to go in the system because there's no family. You know, in your mind, he's under your umbrella, right? This is he's your tribe, your neighborhood. You know what I mean? That's all real. I just mean a guy sitting there saying, a kid that I'm going to go to an agency and pick a kid out of a catalog where there's no connection to you whatsoever. I just think it's off. But your comment is correct. I think the statistics on single dads with their own kids have higher success rates than single moms, and I think there's some reasons for that. You know, probably more discipline related, I think. But that's also an interesting topic to discuss, and you know, we could get into that as well. But you know, we're right at 2:30. What do you think? We'll end her there.
Oh yeah. Just we had 15 minutes. I had other subjects I wanted to cover, but we don't have enough.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting topic. I like that debate, and like you said, by no means do I feel really strongly about this. It's kind of more just gut feelings in my stomach about it. I don't have any statistics either way. It's just, you know, sometimes you do have to just go by your feelings. I know that you hate that. But,
I just don't like it.
Yeah.
By the way, guys, before I forget, John Carpe is coming up tomorrow.
Oh yes.
I totally forgot to mention it, but we're doing a deep dive with John Carpe.
The deepest
on
dive.
Bill C2.
We've already done the deep dive,
deepest,
and now we're doing
yes.
the deepest. We're going through every. If you did see that episode, we kind of were over prepared for it because I guess, you know, obviously John's a busy man. He didn't have time to go through every single clause, but we're like, we did. That's what we did. But so what happened is, you know, we've sent him specific questions in advance, so he'll have researched every single thing beforehand. So he's going to give us the full, unvarnished explanation for all the questions about Bill C2 that you may have. So be sure to tune in for that. It's definitely, you don't want to miss that as well. And other than that, guys, as always, thank you so much for tuning in. Could have been anywhere in the world today for the last 2.5 hours, but you chose to be here with us, and we will always appreciate that. If you want to support us and you are not already a member, I got a feeling like everyone who's sticking around is probably already supporters, but just in case, you can become a member for the low price of $2.99 per month, and that will give you access to the Discord server and a special place in our hearts. But yeah, guys, remember to tune in tomorrow to see John Carpe. And other than that, be safe, enjoy the rest of your day, and we will check you tomorrow.